We're very thankful to, actually be in the presence of poets who are doing this full time, and also, emerging poets who have that potential to take up art as a career. Now, I wanted to, talk about like where I am right now. So I'm, as I said, I'm a poet and I'm a publisher, and I'm a very passionate community organizer as well. So where I'm sitting right now is actually our office in New Delhi, and this also serves as a space for a lot of underground events to happen in connection to arts. So the venue is called Two Road Studio, and the name is inspired by Robert Frost's famous poem, and two roads diverged in the wood, and I took the road less traveled by. And the reason we actually started this space is because Delhi is even though Delhi has had a history of arts for many years, we did feel like a lack of people coming together to express themselves in the city over the last 2 decades or 3 decades at least. Delhi is a place where a lot of like government offices are located, so people are busy with their government jobs, and then it's also the place where we have like cyber hubs, so there are a lot of software companies. But in all of this, I think art has a very special place for people because we do express ourselves through art, and we do connect with others through art. So to create a space where young artists and also emerging artists can learn from more established artists to pursue their art as a career was something that we were very passionate about. And when we finally found a space in central Delhi, we were like, we're going to take it up. We're going to do something for artists here, and we're going to create a culture of art and exchange in Delhi. So we are a non-profit, and Two Road Studio is not just a space for literature. We also have like a lot of things happening with theater. We have things happening with visual arts. So it's an all-encompassive space for both folk arts of India as well as the more contemporary art forms to come together. Now, I did want to, also talk about, how I got started in the creative field. My journey started around 10 years ago, which is, when I decided that I wanted to pursue, my career as an artist and as a poet. And I was still, I'd just gotten out of high school, so I knew I couldn't, do really something that would require me to sit at a desk job sit at a desk the entire day. So I kind of like had that kind of understanding of myself that I needed to do something where I could interact with people, where I could serve people. And that's the route that I decided to take. However, it is quite an unusual choice in India because uh, I think for arts to really thrive somewhere, people need to have the means of survival. And that's, art is, if you want to thrive with your art, definitely, you need to have enough on your plate. If you're fed, if you're clothed, you can still, think about ways of expressing yourself. But if your basic means are not served, then it's difficult to, pursue the career as an artist. So in India, most people do make that conscious choice that they need a paying career. They need a career that they can depend upon. And for the right reasons, we don't really have that kind of a framework for art. We don't have the infrastructure for art here. So a lot of people pursue careers in medicine, people pursue career in science, and also in more secure fields like teaching at colleges or academia. But very few people actually decide to pursue a career as an artist. So I do feel like the younger generations now are thinking about other career choices in India, but they do not know, the creative strategy or the path. I'm not exactly sure, how the art scene in the West works, but I do feel like there are definitely, more grants for artists. There are more awards for artists, and there are, art organizations that are able to support artists who are emerging. So, which is something that doesn't exist in India at all. If you are an artist or even an art organization, you have to basically figure out your own funding, whether it is crowdfunding or fundraising or donations. There's no government support for it. There are no bodies, which are actually actively supporting the arts. or artists in the country. So obviously, it is not really a career choice where people are very drawn to. However, I think what I want to get to now is that when someone signs up to be a poet, they don't just sign up to be an artist, they also sign up to be a creator. So you're actively, thinking about the economics of poetry and how that poetry or art can be monetized in order to, have a stable career, which is absolutely, something that all poets should be thinking about, whichever stage they're at. What is their creative strategy? And what is, the path that we can use for our work, not just to be accessible within, the local art scene or the city or the town where you're based, but for it to be accessible to all parts of the world. So you can connect with a creative community outside where you live. So yeah, thinking about the poetry, your own poetry and the economics of it, I think one of the most important things is thinking about what your creative strategy is going to be. And everything that we've done until now is what your outcome is today. But everything that we do now is what the future looks like. So as creators, which is something that we all signed up for, whether we are full-time poets or part-time poets. But as creators, there are a lot of things that we need to learn in terms of how we deliver our art and how we can basically monetize that poetry in order to have like a sustainable career. So, one of the things that I felt, and I touched upon it yesterday, is that I've invited you all through the internet. So, the internet is definitely a friend when it comes to any kind of creative endeavor. And I think I talked about internet and scalability very briefly yesterday. But just to quote that analogy once again, if you're a poet and you have a certain book, and then you have a reading, usually, a lot of poets sell their books after readings. And that's great because the crowd is already they've heard your work, they already like you as a poet, so they're very pumped up to actually buy a copy of the book. And that could be 100 people or 200 people, like how many ever people you were addressing the reading to. However, that there is a certain limitation to it. What the internet does is it removes all limitations. So that's the reason, where the internet is actually a very powerful means to scale, especially as artists who have like a creative work of art, whether it is, your book, or maybe, if you're recording your poems as an audiobook. So it's a very important means. And a lot of people feel like maybe they're not adept enough to learn the means of the internet. But I'd just like to add there that in today's world, I think we are our own gatekeepers. So we're not really there's no other gatekeeper except our own selves. And what I mean to say with that is, if you think about the world of publishing, just maybe 100 years in the past, if you wanted, your work to be published and put out in the market, you would need a literary agent. You would probably need a publisher. You would go through like 100 rejection letters. But in today's day and age, that's something that's not as important anymore. You are your own gatekeeper. So if you feel like you want to share your works with the world, all you have to do is start a YouTube channel or maybe start a website, and it's very easy to reach people from different parts of the world. And one of the things I think we forget, even as Indian poets, is that there's a world outside India. There are people, looking to read more poetry that's written in English or even translated in English. And as Western poets, we forget that, countries like India, Pakistan, Nigeria actually have very sizable and large English-speaking populations. So they are also looking for new material to read and new material to make sense of this reality where we are living in right now. So on that note, I also wanted to add, how do we actually remove the limitations of how we use the internet? So of course, when we are thinking about the internet, there is that need to create an audience for your poetry on the internet. So how do you create the buzz? And when we're creating a certain kind of buzz on the internet in order to scale, our efforts, one of the most important things is personal branding. So how we brand ourselves as poets, what are the things that you believe in, what is your poetry about, what kind of community would it connect to, is one of the most important things. So there are a lot of poets who write on political issues. So clearly, their audience is a more activist, their audience is passionate about creating a change in the world. Then, of course, there are poets who write on cultural identity. So their audience becomes, more people who are interested in languages, more people who are interested in uh, exploring, not just their own cultural identity, but their own people's cultural identity. So personal branding actually helps us with identifying an audience because uh, okay, just hold on a second. I think Paul is requesting to allow multiple presenters to share. Okay, I think I'll click
By
allow.
mistake, by mistake.
Okay, okay, okay. No worries, no worries. That's okay. Um, all right. So yeah, back to the topic. I think, yeah, where we were at is, personal branding and how do we utilize, that kind of personal branding to our advantage. So firstly, identifying the audience that will relate to your poetry. And secondly, when we talk about personal branding, it also has to do with not just sharing your poetry, but also sharing parts of your life that are important to you. So whether you're a mother or father, or you're a dog lover, those are things that actually help connect with an audience because they can see the whole of you. They're not just seeing you and your poetry, they're seeing parts of your life. So that's what is basically personal branding, identifying an audience, knowing what your beliefs are, and trying to connect with that audience, not just within the limitations of the city that you live in, the town that you live in, but the larger scope of the world. The second thing that's very important on the internet is, of course, content creation. So a lot of us, have this one, especially with poets, I think we have, a link on the website where different people can buy our books, but people, like consuming material in different ways. So some people prefer reading physical books. Some people prefer listening to books. Some people prefer, watching videos. So it really helps when you're creating content for the internet to have different mediums that people can choose and identify on how to consume that material. So that's definitely, the second thing to think about, content creation as a whole, and to think about, what kind of content could you be creating on the internet. And I think we have some poets with us who are doing it very successfully. I've seen some of your Instagram pages. It's absolutely, brilliant how much material you've been able to share, the photos, the videos, as well as, the consistency with which you're creating content. But some of us, of course, need to identify a platform that we're comfortable with and, basically use that platform more. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the same for each and every person. Some people are more familiar with social media, so they can definitely use social media. Some people are more familiar with blogging. So it's good to, create at least like one blog a day. And the internet is a funny place. Like you can basically find anyone that you want to. So someone can find that blog that you've written, and someone has found that poem that you've written. That's why we're here together. So someone can definitely find more of the work that you create. And of course, once you identify that medium, it's important to consistently create for that medium. Now, finally, what I want to address with how we use the internet is how we use advertising. So when I talk about advertising, I'm referring to paid advertising, because in this world where there's a lot of content out there, occasionally we need to create ads to get in front of the people whom we seek to serve. So one of the ways to develop that initial audience is to create, paid ads, whether it's on Meta or on Google, to connect with an audience. And then, of course, once you're able to connect with them and you have let's say their email IDs, you can always start a newsletter to keep them consistently involved. And that initial audience will loop in more and more people to actually, read your works, buy your books, or listen to, your audiobooks, subscribe to you on your YouTube channel. So those are the three things of how we can use the internet as a medium to expand, where our poetry is and connect with new readers beyond just, the country that we're living in. With that, I think I would like to ask my co-host Shrishti to take over with a small introduction and also talk about the lineup for today. Of course, I think I missed out on something, and that is basically the Zoom etiquette. Okay, so I'm sorry, Shrishti, just give me another minute. Um, okay, so for today, it's going to be the same as yesterday. So we have a lineup with each and every poet reading out two poems and an introduction about their work. So that has to be 8 minutes or less. And the other poets can definitely, drop in comments or whatever they feel about that poem. I think it's a great way to encourage the poet. We will also request you to drop your social media handle so that, people who are here can learn more about your work. And I think it would also be a good idea later on for me to, create an Excel sheet with everyone's social media handles and circulate it with the group, because, once the chats are continuous, like a lot of things get lost. So we can probably do that, a kind of a thing to just make sure that everyone is connected even after the 3 days of World Poetry Project. And please make sure that you mute yourself before, during the readings so that there's no distraction from your end. And because the world, has different timings, some of us have just woken up and some of us are closing, are nearing dinner time. So feel free to, turn off your audio and your video and take breaks to have dinner or grab a bite. That's completely fine. So Shrishti, I'll pass this on to you, and you can, talk about the readings for today.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good evening from New Delhi. I am so excited to be in your company. People who think, people who write, people who inspire. I couldn't have asked for more from this day. So, thank you so much for being here. My name is Srishti. Today, I'm going to help Saumya out with hosting. About myself, I'm a poet, I'm a filmmaker, and I'm a social entrepreneur. Saumya is my sister. She's my younger sister. And we have been doing this thing together for the art community in India. And like Saumya said, we also run a venue in New Delhi called the Two Roads Studio for artists and for just the community to engage with, traditional as well as contemporary artists. So today we have a very promising lineup. I'm just going to read out the list. But obviously, after you perform, I'm going to also give out the name of the next person who's going to be performing. So today's list is Mikey, Mikey Cullen, Amit Chatterjee, Aditi Sindwani, Carmen Bardequez-Brown, Mukesh Choudhary, Vishesh Khurana, Poornima Dayal, Ruth Danon, Neha Bhatia, Inusha Panigrahi, James Morehead, Francis DiClemente. I'm really sorry if I'm mispronouncing your names. Please excuse me. Sukriti Chopra, Arshpreet Kaur, Mary Frank. Okay, I just can't pronounce that last name, but it's Mary. Then we have Joyce George, Sangram Keshri, Daragh Fleming, Benedicte Kusendila, Martha Cinader, Anjandev Roy, Kathleen McCoy, Swapna Sanchita, Manisha Sharma, Rosalind Brenner, Varun Dingra, Nandini Tandon, Lola Haskins, Robert Haynes. We have Srinivas Nathan, Rita Anderson, and Geoffrey Johnson. Wow, that's a very long list of people. And I really messed up a lot of names I already know. So I'm really, really sorry about that. Please correct me. Let's begin with Mikey Cullen. I like to invite him to read out his works.
Hi there, Shristi. How's it going? Hi guys as well. Yeah, greetings from a grey Dublin afternoon here. It's a real pleasure to be involved here, and thank you, Saumya, for the invitation as well.
Thank
And
you. It's
yeah,
really great to see you.
yeah, really great to see you as well, and everyone, and yeah, I've enjoyed it so far. What I've tuned in for, so I think it's great to get so many international people connected together. Um, I'm going to share two poems. I'm a poet, a page poet, and mostly spoken word and performance poetry. Um, my day job is a secondary school teacher here in Ireland, so I teach history and English to teenagers as well, and do a bit of acting as well. So kind of like yourselves, a bit of all sorts. But I'm gonna share a poem that I wrote about Dublin City, kind of inspired a little bit by Dubliners, by James Joyce. So it's called Queer Folk Indeed. The drainage stents and the vibrant, alive hum of piss, snot green river and odorous canals ovulating with gat flies and destitute trolleys invading the nostrils like the wafts of bread roaming on Parisian streets. The clang of clattering, crashing metal reverberating in the taut air with high vis digging up of foundations, the stable rumbling of the dart and the jarring squalling of the Lewis mimicking an irate Fine Gael TD, vulture like seagulls gulling and hovering over busy, oblivious anthills like the crane above the swell. Enter cacophony of all the world's tongues. The alrights, what's ups, and how is, aulas, estabems, assalamu alenkus, ni hows, the buds, pals, the huns, and the lads, and the all good, yes, how's your ma? Broken English for intercommunication from both the new and us Irish alike, the sentimental togetherness of the low streets at odds with these strange times, to the routine screaming and ignored howling at the moon, the pushing and shoving, dirty looks, forceful shoulder led spits. Some heads are overheating, a lot are buried on the phone while most of us are on sleep mode. In the noise, we can't hear each other. In the noise, we can't hear ourselves. The chewing gum and store etched footpaths forging their own avenues, meandering through the swamp and the deluge of litter and stray legs, hanging out from and sheltering beneath the archways, in laneways and doorways, are a part of the furniture of the north inner city streets, like the statues of writers, fighters, rebels, and the idealistic. But Connolly is just a train station now. Big Jim a toilet for the birds. So no help is given. No rooms at the inn, no one cares, and no beds. The poor lost souls, they'll be frozen like the statues and forgotten like their dreams and deeds. All a relic, an afterthought, ignored on the busy streets, and dead. The traffic at an all time high, BC, before COVID. Peeping was only used to say hello. People overtaking just for waiting at the next set of lights. So they've the city destroyed at this stage, don't they? You couldn't drive in. And the buses, don't fucking talk to me. Wants us all on our bikes, so he does. The bleeding cheek of him. Inflation keeps inflating while minds and legs and wills are racing. The purposeful ghosts hungry for more, while the purposeful ones in suits hunger for more and more and more and more. A greedy city well past its main course. The middle buttons being put to work, the top buttons blissfully unaware, while the bottom buttons long since has burst. Growing pains penned in by the mountains and the waterways, and the site at the end of the 16 where the forgotten youth make their getaways. An old boy smokes outside one of many pubs on the venerable Matt Talbot Street. Talbot, who wandered through the dark night of the soul's desert and gleaned. His street now is the desert, more lost souls than found, and temptations are not whispered to, but screamed. The owl lad watches on as the world and memory mirage by with songs and stories of old in his heart. and they reflect like the ghosts of yesterday in his bloodshot, glassy south mournful eyes. The city, rising, rising, falling, falling, simultaneously towards an abyss, its festering, trembling, mutating, bubbling, boiling, bursting at the seams, awaiting a catalyst for combustion. The troubling, tension, tight tremors are palpable like the chill in the fog clinging to the low streets. And then, a spark, and the sun breaks out through the grey, and that tension rises like the steam of a kettle. A man drops change into a longing cup. Two old dears laugh as they struggle with their shopping bags. There is youth here, and for now they are laughing and smiling, and there is good, and people are just getting by the best way they know how to in this ever changing city caught between an undying past and those modern thinkers who see it and its promises as a hindrance. But for a brief moment at least, for a brief moment, the sun kisses the skin of Dublin's faithful. Tight city faces are eased and canal cans smell in the breeze that blows invitingly from the Irish Sea. And in this eternal moment, in ever elusive time, all is well in this beautiful madness. So there's probably a few lines there you'd have to know the situation in Dublin to get, but yeah, that's kind of just about my city anyway. It's there's a lot of issues here, but we love it nonetheless. I suppose like a lot of people's homes. Um, will I do one more?
Yes, absolutely. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Um, this one then is a bit more personal to me, or yeah, a bit more personal to my own life, I guess, like in a less abstract way. My both my grandparents unfortunately died last year, and recently we've sold up their house and gotten rid of it or whatever. But a few months ago, I went back and went back to where their house is, and there was no one in it, obviously, so I kind of just sat outside it and had a smoke and took it in and reminisced and reflected. So this poem is about kind of my memories of them and their house, and I guess letting go of spaces that was once home to you. So this is called In the Soil of the Clay. I sat across from that house, the one I used to know. I saw the garden, you working there, and me as I followed in tow. I thought of the old green watering can and how it used to flow. I thought of all the stories you'd share, if only now captured in prose. And I hovered at your once proud gate, but I dared not go through. Instead, with wry smile, I laughed at fate as the wind blew with a feeling I knew, and in it heard the echoes that had ceased of late. So I sat on the wall and I took in it all. It's all I could think of to do. I watched from the wall, a child in the garden with hand held upwards towards her as she answered him. And after Grandad's demonstration, next the child did begin. He dug up muck with a handheld shovel, and up out of all that upturned rubble, life it began anew again. They planted his bare feet into the soil, and the clay molded itself around. So, no matter now how high he grows, his roots will keep him down. I see him, now older, as he laughs through the window, and that laughter is shared in that once bright and full room by the people for whom he cared, the same people who nurtured and cared for him when he was only a fresh seed planted. They tended to the soil with their bare hand and toil, and for his roots, a home they granted. I see that room now on a solemn grey day, when both of you now have returned to the clay, only you will go 6 feet down below, too far for my held out hand to reach, and where the sun cannot touch. I now see the house clad in darkness, the clay is concrete, and your well cared for gate now creaking, ashes and rust. So yeah, that's that one. Yeah. Would you like one more, or what do we like for time?
Um, Yeah, I think we don't have any more
That's
time because
okay.
we have a very, but that was amazing. It
Yeah.
was a roller coaster of emotions, and I can totally relate to the second poem. I mean, even to the first one, because we see our city changing. We see the difficult times that our cities go through, but there's also certain hope that things might change. So both your poems are very relatable. I have older grandparents, and every time I visit them, I think about the fact that, once they're gone, there will be no place to visit. So I could totally
Mm.
relate to both your poems. Thank you so much for sharing them today. We're going
Not
to
at
move
all. My
on.
pleasure.
Thank you. We're going to move on
Thank
to the
you.
next poet, who's Amit Chatterjee.
Hi, this is Amit
Hello,
here.
Amit.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, hello everyone. Nice to meet you all. It's a good evening. Okay, a lot of good poets. So it's a very good evening that I'm spending with you all. Uh, I have two poems I've selected for this session. Okay, one of the poems that I will talk about is one of my masterpiece, you can say. Actually, I like to write a little bit of epic poems. So there is an epic poem that I have recently written and published. That is a poem on Krishna. Okay. So it is called Kalashamritam. This poem, I will say that around 900 stanzas are there in this poem with 4 lines each. So I think it would be one of the longest poems in English, okay, which I've read so far. Means there are other poems also that I know, like Coleridge's poems and Prelude by William Wordsworth, and there are several other poems which are very long length. So this poem I didn't write in with that thought in mind that I had to write a long poem. I was just writing about Krishna, and I found that just by writing about the childhood of Krishna, I went so far. Okay, means this poem covers only the childhood of Krishna, and after that, if I write about the whole life of Krishna, I don't know how many lines it will become. So I have not ventured into that realm yet, but just covered the first part of it. Okay, so this starts at the place where means before the birth of Krishna, and then after that, when Krishna moved to Dwarka
Hmm.
from Mathura to
Hmm.
Dwarka, so till that time I'm covering in this poem.
Okay,
So
Amit, so you said your poem is very long. You have up till 8:15 to read out, how many stanzas you can fit in.
I know.
Yeah,
Actually, I'm
okay.
not going to read the entire poem. This is just
Yeah,
the
okay.
epilogue that I'm going to read.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Please go ahead. We are very
I
excited to
know.
hear you. Krishna is, for those who don't know, Krishna is one of our gods, and he was very naughty when he was a child. So Amit has written a poem about that, his childhood. So Amit, you can go ahead.
Okay, so this is the epilogue of the poem. Okay, so the epilogue itself is of almost 20-25 stanzas. So I think that covers within 80 minutes, I will be able to finish it. Okay, so uh,
Yes, please go ahead.
so the epilogue is in praise of Krishna. Much has been said about the Lord. There can be no end of his praise. Who worships him does join a chord with happiness and blissful days. If you try to run after him, like the centuries who tried in vain, you cannot catch that cosmic gleam. Just time will go and age will wane. So just sit in peace in one corner, take a deep breath and close your eyes. Expel thoughts that talk disorder and let the mind above them rise. When your inside has been calmed down, in mental frame just think his face. For some moments not in the crown, but at the center of third eye space. Let intake of breath sing one half of his name, and let the outlet sing the other on mouth's VR. And in your mind, you're all set. Just worship him thus for solace. He just dwells in devotion alone, free of shows and austere trace. Ardently call his name alone. If there is flood of much distress, just seek his shelter, always there. He can lift your mountains of stress if your efforts are true and fair. Sometimes some doubts can cross the mind. Hard to believe what has been said. To grasp him, just leave that behind, else mind will be a tangled thread, far from essence that always guides the souls that are utterly lost. Like the serpent in deep decides to confront Krishna and exhaust him to death by coiling around and pressing hard to stifle sense, not knowing that Savior found who had come to uplift it thence. Krishna is an evergreen song. Sing it from heart and become free from tensions of life plaguing long. Immerse in it to capture glee. Krishna is a beautiful vase with fragrant flowers spreading smile. As he travels from place to place, in his aura just rest a while. His wisdom is that sweet nectar flowing out of a pot of gold, for which the demons lodged a war against the gods, as story told. In chosen form, you may worship your friend, father, brother, or son, or partner in a relation deep, for whom the heart can cry alone. Several names had been given by people who had seen or felt, rustic folks or gods of heaven. Everyone had before him knelt. As savior or destroyer, he has taken various forms. Whenever called, he arrived there, in calm of breeze or 100 storms. This is a force that none could stop, even demons of enormous size. It is present in every drop of the cosmos with lasting ties. Once the journey starts in his way, never look back to worried past. He will transform your night and day. Just keep your faith up to the last. We get the results of our deeds and often blame the end on fate. We never know which action leads to what outcome before it's late. It, if still misfortune hits someone who was pious throughout the time, that's a test by supernal one to lift from mundane to sublime. Krishna is an indelible flow. Don't obstruct it, but channelize to depths of mind that had been low, feeling the stress of life's surprise. Don't search him in temples or shrine. Just hold his idol in your thoughts. The more you dig, larger the mind, a field to access treasure lots. None can forget how he saved all from ruinous flood or hostile fire. Thwarted disasters, monsters tall, downtrodden were lifted higher. Krishna stands for a secured ship to sail over the sea of life, unknown, vast, and fathomless deep, with waves of pain and unknown strife. Just keep chanting his pious name every day and throughout the day, at any time like burning flame. Be pure and kind and follow his way. Just think he is always around, watching your steps and showing signs of pitfalls with some sights or sound, or even or events on some doubtful lines. Pursuits of world capture the hands, the eyes, the ears, the stomach, and brain. Let neurons just dwell in his lands. The soul will catch no worldly pain. Krishna is the symbol of love that's pure and sublime and timeless. Beyond our thoughts, it stands above. Love for faces that causes stress. Thousands of words will still be short to sing his praise for a few moments. Krishna is the final resort, whose wisdom is sought by the saints. So that's the epilogue of the poem. Thank you, everyone.
That was really good. To just add a little bit of context, we have a lot of poetry dedicated to our gods, and our gods are usually metaphors. So, for example, we have Parvati Shakti, who's the goddess of strength. So, we Indians have for centuries written poetry in praise of gods. So this is one. This poem is about Krishna and Krishna's childhood. So it was really amazing to listen to, Amit. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Carmen. Oh, I'm sorry. I think next is Aditi. Aditi Sindwani?
Yeah, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are, Aditi.
Okay.
Welcome.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Soumya and Srishti, for having me over here. And it has been lovely to listen to so much beautiful poetries yesterday and today, also the two that we have heard until now. Uh, as for me, I am working in an IT industry, and as Soumya has already, given a hint about it, majority of Indian, I'm not here by choice. So for me, poetry is, my happy place. And it is where I find solace in, this hustle and bustle of my life. And as for my poetic journey, I think I have been writing for too long. Maybe it's more than 20 years now with, a school assignment that, turned out into something, a passion, I would say, that I kept on writing. But I still would not prefer to call myself as a poet, but rather a seeker who, likes to ask questions and, write her introspections through her poetry. So as for today, I will try to share two pieces of mine, and they are basically verses. The one of which being is part of my book that I happened to self-publish last year. If it's visible, I hope. Yeah. So it's available on Amazon if anyone would like to give it a read later on. So I will be reading one of the poems from this one, and then another is a verse that I've written recently. So if we have time, I may go for that as well. So this one is titled. It's not titled "Why Do We Fight?" And I actually wrote it when the Russia and Ukraine war broke out, and little did I know that the other regions will also be engulfed in wars of their own. So here we go. All this bloodshed, all this war, for what interest of ours? The ones who will not even stay forever to enjoy the fruition of their own mind games. Why cannot we let go of our past, our lust for power? Why cannot we ever choose peace over violence, love over hatred? Why does it always require a tower to shatter, a life to end, for everything to come in a full circle? Why cannot we regenerate the better version of ourselves rather than trying to make others a humanoid of our illusionary world? No, this won't ever work, ever stay forever, as neither evil nor good remains constant. They are ever changing and will change once again. Then what are we even fighting for when the golden words in which we desire our names to be written will too fade away one day? Okay, I think we still have time, right?
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
So the next one is a letter, kind of a letter in poetry format. So I was having pretty rough days in past few months, and due to some toxicity in my workplace, and decided to call it a quit. And at that time, one of my colleague wrote me something, and then I typed out this letter in a poetic format for her that I never shared, but yeah, here it is. So that colleague name is Dominic. So it is like this. Hi, Dominic. You said thank you for my hard work and my support, and you wish that we can work together for many years. I hope we could have, but it is not possible. The things just didn't turn out the way I wanted them to. The sand of time that I controlled for too long, and the tides that I wanted to turn in my own favor, just slipped out of my hands. They were never in my control, you see. I was never meant to be where I wanted to be. All your love, all your support, all your faith in me kept me thinking that maybe someday I can get out of that little cocoon of mine and rise. Rise like a phoenix out in that shadow to be a beautiful butterfly. But wasn't I already a butterfly? I have come so far from being that small little girl who never had any dreams, who didn't even know what she wanted to do, then just roam around. She just wanted to be accepted in the society. She just wanted to be free, to be heard till the day she found her own voice. The voice that she never knew existed in her heart. The voice that gave her courage to shout out loudly, loudly to herself, telling her that what the hell was she doing until now? That the dreams she thought to be belonging to her were never hers. They were of the others, who thought that she was somewhere lacking, that she was not enough. But I was enough in who I was. I had everything that I needed to be a perfect recipe of success. Alas, that they never saw that in me. They always thought me to be just a passing wave, whom they could control as per their desires, the way they wanted it to flow. Alas, that they could also never understand that the wind is for none to control, because it is free and it is meant to flow freely and cover niches in its own way. It can be a storm when it wants to be, it can be a hurricane, it could be a cyclone as well, and it can move waters into a tsunami. But but it still chooses to be a slow pacing air. It doesn't mean it doesn't have the strength to rise above. It just means that it loves peace and calmness more than anything in its life. So, my dear friend Dominic, even though it is saddening to see that those narrow minded existence of theirs could never respect the wind's choice, I am grateful for your faith in me and desire to work with me. For I will cherish that bonding of ours forever, even when I will no longer be here. Yeah, so thank you.
You definitely need to share that with this person.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday. Thank you so much for sharing your poetry. Next up is Mukesh Choudhary.
Yeah, here I am. Am I audible?
Yes, Mukesh, go ahead.
Well, greetings for whatever time of the day it might be for all of you here. So I'm not really used to the sound of my own voice, so bear with me on this. Uh, I made a top three, but I couldn't decide which to share, so I'll just read the fourth one and see how that goes. So it's called a prompt smile, and it goes like this. If I were a story, I'd be a festive dance of joyous glory, a song that life, alive, would cry in the centers of the cities at night, in waiting for moons, as the lotus flowers float on muddy waters. If I were a story, I'd be your broken plate, as abandon rages on, for tears of joy shed just too soon, through the duets sung over our smiles. I would be that poem that rung across the rooms you never knew. If I were a story, I'd be none of their bottles, for the letters churn. I'd be the ocean cresting along our bustling shores. From dusk till dawn, my crashes would drown out sorrows. If I were a story, I'd be your shouts and screams, the praise you sing, the fears and joys they bring. I would be our hands thrown up in airs of laughing disappointments, the shoulders laid back on cloud envy. If I were a story, I'd be the crystal rivers that the hungers wrought and our thirsts burned. In turning seas, I would be your tiny hands, for arms that sail, stones resting on our floor. If I were a story, I'd be your death that blithe forsook, the mirth, parts, chants, flights swallowed. I would be that ghost shadowed wings love swings on, the silence beings. Yeah, that was the first one. And now, if I have the time, the second one. It's called Rise Onwards to Change, and it goes like this. Us already dead, we roam the streets of violence and prejudice amidst the enforced sacred silence over cries and loves of depression and agony. Can't you hear it close? The whispered sounds of drowning in these creeks, a shadow of doom fall, frightful tears flail upon the innocent cheeks, reddened and scarred for the longevity of your oppressive existence. The despair will mark the lament of falls, the cries that were when the angels had to die. When will the healing ever fall? Looking up, we wondered at those eternal grey skies that gloomily float and embrace the toll, the shards they hold. Those tears will dry, but not before they bring a flood, wash away the rains, to come again, fly away. Those crooked vultures will lie again when the night weeps for the dawn of our new skies, and the sorrows will remind our eyes that angels too deserve to die. And yeah, that was the second one. Now, if I have the time, shall I share another?
Do you have a
Or
short one you can share?
uh, yeah, actually, I do have a short one that I wasn't planning on sharing, but yeah, it. I think it will make an interesting read. It's called Summer Triangle, and it's inspired by the constellation of the Summer Triangle, which is actually what the folklore of Chinese Valentine's Day is also based on. It's an interesting story, but it goes like this. Oh, how the time flies by for the star-crossed lovers in exile, disguised under these blue night skies, and I wonder if they miss the other so, as the summer winds blow tomorrow into rains and snows to follow, or if the winds have flown away on our ambition, skills, and the breeze of fate, and left that harp strung awry, playing his melodies for the days gone by. And yeah, that was one.
Thank you so much for sharing your poetry. You're almost like a mystic poet.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Vishesh Khurana.
Yes, hello. So I am Vishesh and I'm a student in final year BCom pursuing from Delhi University. And I started writing poetry a few months ago. Self-taught, uh, didn't well get any formal training or anything. Just started writing one day, kept on writing, and here's here's two poems. Hope you will like. So this one is called Never Mind. So here it is. Never mind my mistakes. Never mind my distractedness. Something in the way. There's always something in the way. Another obstacle in my way. I cannot break it through. Stuck in a vicious cycle. I tried to talk to you. Uh, One second, sorry. I tried to talk to you, but never mind me. I'll stay quiet. Detach, attach, break. The cycle goes on. When this cycle will end, an endless cycle. Forgive my outness. Oh, sorry. Forget my outness. Forgive my faults. Forgive people. My honesty drove people away. Never mind. Oh, oh. So here I lie, hoping someday I'll be gratified in our imperfect paradise. The eulogistic lullaby. That was one. Can I read the second one?
Yes.
Okay. So second one is titled Angel. It will be published in the anthology. So it's you fell down like an angel. I saw your wings affixed. Perhaps you were exiled from paradise. Oh, please come down like an angel. Then we had be able to talk about how I feel right now. So now what will I be able to see? You are so radiant, the whole room would bright up. I drank a morning coffee while watching you. I could see your arms amputated, wings made from genuine feathers so beautiful you couldn't tell that was a corpse. Ivory wings were sticking out from your back, lot of bruises, your clothes were torn up, lacerations on your neck, blood on the floor. You look like a wax statue from painting, yet you managed a smile. Your laugh could brighten any one day. Hope I see you again.
Thank you so much, Vishesh, for sharing your poetry. It's quite amazing that you're teaching yourself how to write poetry and that you're a student of BCom, but literature has come to you. So thank you so much for sharing. Next up, we have Poornima Dayal.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Saumya. Hi, Srishti. Hi, everybody. I'm in Mumbai and I'm an artist. I've been painting for almost 33 years now. And as a child, I used to write a lot of poems, and my mother always was fascinated by my poems. Though I never considered myself to be a poet, and even now, as I continue to compile my poems into books, they are available at Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. But I still don't think, I think I'm always learning because there's always so much to express. And one of the poems I'm going to read out today is a poem about, it's just when I was sitting down and I said, okay, how has poetry just come to me and how have I started rewriting poems again? So it's just about that, and it's called What Poetry Means to Me. Fillers of love and joy are such words and phrases, ahoy, moving away from the feeling of emptiness, lock, stock, and barrel to completeness. Enhancing my life, this is such a gift, I wouldn't know the reasons for the shift. Bowing and revering is now my trait, seeking from this am I never a rebate. No, it's not a flimsy activity nor some time pass. It's like a gardener watering his vibrant green grass. Each word I scribble, a blade of grass that dribbles, adding adjectives and finding rhymes, manuring and fertilizing the soil each time. A speck of molten green, a string of words with that glossy sheen. Sparkly dewdrops in the morn appear, adding twists and turns to some verses I prepare. That glistening sunlight every morning does bless, with honey and sugar these words I dress. Losing, immersing, following the flow, writing new words and phrases in every row. How blissful a treat is this from above, nourishing and feeding my need for more love. My pen holding my hand, as in my palms it merrily stands, sometimes slanting, enraptured in telling tales, while breathing the freshness of ink my art heart inhales. Oh, this must be a hobby or a source of recreation, reviving my sensibilities, a gift of true creation. Honoring each work with respect and regard, may next I may be writing about some tribe and its bard. So this was my first poem. And the second one is called Pigeons. So I stay in a very lovely home. I'm not too modest. So I stay in a nice home with a nice balcony. And these pigeons like to come every morning and sit there, and I observe them a lot. So here's one on them. Sitting by the fence, a pretty flock so dense, their soft, supple wings fluttering and flapping, it's spring. In that open park where sing many a lark, nestled together, sitting by closely, is a red-crested woodpecker. And a rosy mist tints my window. I'm watching them sitting on my sofa indoors. A halo forms as the weather transforms. It's getting dusky. It's kind of smelling musky. Their staccato feet pitting and patting the ground softly as they continue walking. The night may be awakening as their slim necks they are shaking. Hoping and gliding, they appear to be sliding. And one pigeon appears to be gazing. His bands are green and blue shimmering. Looking up at the starlight sky, what could they be talking about and why? Some of them are trying to hide. If they would in me confide, oh, tell me what's in your heart and mind. I'm assuring you I would be kind. Tell me your lover's name, let there be no reserve nor shame. Come on, let's not make excuses, that's now so lame. And you don't have to act even slightly tamed. Brushing past the door, oh, why don't you fly indoor? Let us be friends talking about the latest trends. If you could speak, or perhaps you do, why don't you join me in eating some hot lentil stew? And they are flying past, dropping off their casts. Time does have wings, it's just one of those things. Their sparkling bodies, taking a turn, getting ready are they now for their next run. So that was it.
That was amazing, Purnima.
Thank you.
A poet's imagination can really go anywhere.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm listening to a poem about pigeons, and it's
Yeah.
quite wonderful. So, thank you so
Thank you.
much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ruth Danon.
Hello, everyone. I am going to put my website in the chat, and there you can find all sorts of things about me. www.ruthdanon.com. There it is. Okay, so yes, I'm Ruth Danon. I live in Beacon, New York. For 23 years, I directed the Creative and Expository Writing Program for adult students at NYU. We gave bachelor's degrees, and we had a very strong creative writing program. In 2017, my program was discontinued along with the programs of about 9 other people. And I found myself out of New York City and in Beacon, which turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. I have now founded an organization called Live Writing. Live Writing is dedicated to the reading, writing, and performance of poetry. So we offer classes, curate readings. I do all the things I did at NYU, but without anybody telling me that they were too weird. My connection with India is actually interesting. My last 2 books were published in India by Nirala. One of them is called Word Has It. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
Drawing on the cover is my husband's. And the other one, the more recent one, is Turn Up the Heat. Both of them can be found on Amazon. Turn Up the Heat is now an ebook. What else can I say? I really appreciate the dedication to community that Saumya and Shristi have demonstrated. It's what I've been trying to do in Beacon and in the Hudson Valley. And the consequence of that is very happily, I've been named Poet Laureate of both Beacon and Dutchess County. So that's where I come from. My poems tend to be short. I write shortish poems. And so with your indulgence, I'd like to read 3. That's okay. And they're
Yes,
short.
absolutely. Please go ahead.
Okay. So in Word Has It, which is this book, was written before, during, and after the last unfortunate presidency of He Who Shall Not Be Named. And I thought I would read one poem from this book, because of course, one of the things we're dealing with in this country right now is the persecution of asylum seekers and immigrants. I myself come from an immigrant family. I was born here, but my parents were not. And so I thought I would read something about what it means to come to a border. And this poem is called Approach. Can you hear me, everybody? Am I okay?
Yes.
Approach. Close on to the longest night of the year, moon just past full. Nothing to declare, I walk through customs, papers in one hand, baggage in the other. Gatekeepers nod. Gatekeepers never know what I carry, what I leave behind. Revelation, rival gangs of angels, oranges and lemons, crimson amaranth, time before trouble. And that whole book is political in one way or another. Now I'm going to read a poem because Saumya said you liked it, and I'm going to put it on the screen because it just helps. And if people are hard of hearing or my accent is too strange, you'll be able to see it. And this poem was written during COVID. No, I haven't done it right. Sorry, hang on. I didn't do the share. Presumably I can share. Is that true?
Yeah, we can see it now.
So this poem was originally published in Tupelo Quarterly and then in Turn Up the Heat. And it was written during COVID, a COVID poem. How we live now. I have heard lately, more than once, of men falling out of their beds. Sometimes they hurt themselves falling out of bed, and so resort to sleeping on the floor. And I've heard as well that the women living with the men who fall out of their beds are forced to sleep alone, because the force that forces these men to fall out of their beds is dangerous to the women they sleep next to. I have heard lately of women eating dinner alone because the men who fall out of their beds and sleep on the floor go to sleep very early and so are not awake when the women are hungry. Don't you think these are strange times? We are wearing our masks indoors. When the women eat alone, they become particular. The place setting just so, the candles lit, one glass of wine, one piece of chocolate to end the meal. This is how we live. This is what we have come to. I'm going to stop this show. Okay, are you with me? I'm going to read one more. Is that good?
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
I'm going to read the opening poem in Turn Up the Heat because it is the first poem that I wrote when I came to Beacon. And I thought everybody is sharing poems about where they live, so I thought I would share this one. This is called Time Travel. Someday, in what we now call the future, I will write a poem or an essay or a story that begins with the line, "That first winter it snowed often, and I was already edging my way into being old." At that time in the future, I will no longer pass beyond what's called the dummy light to the other side of the street, to have delicate blonde streaks woven into my dyed brown hair. I will let myself turn silver and amazed. I will recall that I read mysteries one after another late into the night, hoping that they would help me understand betrayals I didn't yet understand. That winter of frequent snow, it was unconscionably cold, and I was also unconscionably cold, as if warmth would come at too high a price. That winter, the snow seemed beyond relief, clutched in the naked arms of trees. I was edging into age. I was tentative like a young girl learning to line her eyes with shadow for the first time. That winter, the snow clung to the trees and tumbled into the river that rushed past the place where I lived. Thank you very, very much. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you, Ruth, for sharing your poems. Very hard hitting work. I really like the political poem, the first one, that really, made me feel something. Difficult times, and these are reminders that immigrants are very important to a place, and they don't just leave a country behind when they come, they leave everything. So, thank you so much for sharing that poem. Um, Next up, we have Neha Bhatia.
Hello everyone, my name is Neha. I have been writing poetry since my school days, but never thought about writing it professionally. Currently, I work as a features writer in a publishing company, and poetry for me is not just a way to harness my creativity, but also a companion that has helped me navigate my inner self from nastiest of feelings to the most exuberant moments. Uh, in my first poem, although I did not write it with the intention of expressing this theme, but once I completed it, I reflected that this poem could be thought in could be looked at in this way. The title is "I made love to the words you wrote for me and then killed them." So basically, the theme is that sometimes the loving words from the world turn into angry words, but once we learn to embrace them, then they become roses for us. I'll start. I made love to the words you wrote for me in the letter I received yesterday. As I ripped the cord and unclasped the letter, your words flew from the paper, flurrying and leaping upon me like a baby into his mother's arms. Your words shrieked with pain as I caressed them with my tender touch. I held them close to my heartbeats, cradling. The longings of your intense love untrapped themselves, birds liberated from prisons of ink. I listened to them as they talked about memories and magic and moods and music in squeaky, grumbling tones, sometimes melancholy, sometimes wrath. They sat with me as I ate dinner. They licked my lips to share the flavors and tastes. They followed me as I walked to the kitchen to wash my dishes. They taught me how to write poetry. When twilight overshadowed the sky, dripping moonlight, your words hung around my eardrums like earrings and jewels suspended mid-air, jangling on my pillow as I drifted into a dreamy slumber. In the morning, they woke me up, they laughed as I smudged the toothpaste around my lips. They jumped and sat on the rim of my teacup as I sipped the tea. But one day, your words changed. They turned into angry beasts. They stared into my eyes with wicked smiles and lashed onto my flesh, siphoning my blood. My morning teacup slipped from my hand, crashing and dropping onto the floor, shattered fragments and ceramic ash. They sneaked into my eyes and made me look at things that terrified me. They slipped inside my mouth and started choking my breath. I screamed in pain as they clenched my flesh and started pounding on my bosom that once sheltered them. I left my home to escape the torment of your words, but they followed me wherever I went, pestering dogs following the scent of my breath. Weary and betrayed by your vile words, I returned home, hungry for revenge. While your words wreaked havoc on me, I managed to assemble some of my own words, collecting them from pieces of paper and diaries. For years and years I toiled in sleepless nights and red-rimmed eyes, but ended up crafting a sword from my words. And then the battle began, a battle between your words and mine. Furious and aggravated as your words had made me, I kicked and tossed them away in the fire, killing them all with my sword. Your letter folded and warped as it burned. Your words crackled, snapped, hissed, and then went silent. Teardrops of mourning rolling down my cheeks, I put your words to an eternal rest. Today, a rose has bloomed from their ashes. Won't you come and see? So, this was the first piece. And second, if there is some time left,
Do you have a short poem? Because we might have time for a short poem.
yeah, it's not very long. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Be my guest.
Okay. So it's basically a romantic poem when a woman is writing poetry. So whenever she writes the spelling of her lover's name, the words jump from the page and fly towards her. The title is The Spelling of Your Name. As I write this poem, words sit on the page like jewels on the garb of a new bride. Mannerly ornaments of ink pin tucked to the paper, elaborate sculptures of art, young blossoms of the springtide, swirling dots, details, and patterns posing neat for a fashion show, curious more than ever to know their destiny on the far side. For a moment or two, they sit stationary on the page, drizzled in blue ink of a rollerball gel pen. But the moment I write the spelling of your name, their inky strokes lift from the page, become vigilant, keen-eyed. A shudder reverberates through the page, the squiggly little curves of the alphabets quiver and shake, bob their heads, looking up at me, their eyes rolling wide. As I finish writing the spelling, they leap and jump from the page, like frantic reptiles with bodies made of water. They levitate and hover around my ears, circling on my sides. They erupt into a cacophony of celebration, jingling like bangles and chains of a woman in love, clinking like autumn teacups of grandparents on the herd side, exploding into a mellifluous fusion of all the songs I have wanted to hear since evermore.
That was a beautiful poem.
Thank
Really
you,
unique
Sukriti.
concepts. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Yeah, thank you. I am grateful to have received this opportunity to read my poems in front of all these wonderful poets.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Inusha Panigrahi.
Thank you for giving the opportunity. Basically, I am a medical doctor, but I write poems during leisure time, and I can write in 3 to 4 languages, but most of the time I write in Hindi. But this year I have written more of English poems, and so actually I believe in keeping hope, hoping for the best, and giving a positive thing to, or the positive response to everything. So you should believe in yourself. You should believe that you can do something, or you should believe that something good is going to happen, even if life is not a bed of roses. So that belief and that hope keeps us going. So, so 2 poems in this direction. So actually, I have already published a Hindi collection of poems, solo, and in that, yeah, this is the. I don't know whether we are able to see or not. This was published last year, and and I'll be narrating 2 poems in English, and one is Take It Easy, and another is Life Beckons. So, so when the going gets difficult, the tough get going. So this is what we know. Be patient, be cool, take it easy. Take it easy, yeah. Pull out the thorns, pick the petals. Have confidence, keep going. Be daring, be smart. Take it easy. Take it easy, yeah. So look forward. The life is ahead. Don't give up hope. Keep running. Be strong, clean and clear. Take it easy. Take it easy, man. Believe in God. Feel the warmth. He is very helping. Don't run amok. Be the water. Be the music. Take it easy. Take it easy, dear. So that I would say to all my students, all my colleagues, and all the young ones to have patience and keep going. So the other one is life beckons. So life comes with twists and turns. You get your hugs and burns. So life will not be very easy. Many times you have challenges. So life comes with twists and turns. You get your hugs and burns. You believe in doing good, but some people do spoil your mood. You get your thorns and roses. Chill out with selfies and poses. You have always time to celebrate. Hey, buddy, miracles do happen. Believe in him when you are shaken. Everyone gets light and sunshine, so look within and ask when and how. You get your smiles and laughter. Enjoy the colors on your platter. So be positive and enjoy your life. You will get your day that will come someday. So you should believe in it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Inusha. Really a lot of optimism there. And I'm sure your students feel very positively when they listen to you recite such wonderful poetry.
Thank you so much.
Next up, we have James Morehead.
Hello and good morning from California. Got up early to join this wonderful event. I'm going to read 2 poems. The First poem is from my, it's behind my head there, my first book. And the second poem is from an upcoming book coming probably out next year. I love collaborations with artists of all kinds. I've had poems set to music. I've done ekphrastic poetry inspired by art. I've done poems that have inspired art. And these two poems are both have inspired films. So this first poem inspired a poetry film that was hand animated by a wonderful animator in Italy, 750 frames of hand-drawn animation. And she perfectly captured it. And it's called Tethered. I've long ago learned to ignore the rhythmic tug of the chain that tethers me to the ocean floor. A chill curls around my painted stripes as fog rolls toward a distant shore, and wave-powered bells warn those sailing near. I hear passing ships cutting towards the Golden Gate and imagine their carefully stacked containers swaying in the swells. Later, fog fades, and California's sun steams dew from my metallic frame, unveiling the shore's outline once more. A seagull pauses, perched and chattering, singing me stories until trade winds lift her to dance above whitecaps. Soon, the season of storms returns, bringing fierce waves and wind to power the peals of my warning bells. Deep in winter, mist freezes to my metallic skin, crafting turquoise crystals that flicker in the moonlight. But in time, calm and warmth return, lit by the moon's waning crescent, mirrored on still water's glass. Do I measure time in seasons, or in dawns and dusks, or count the cycles of frost freezing then dripping melted down my spine? Or do I set aside time and count the swells, or passing ships, or pods of dolphins, shivers of sharks, colonies of gulls? I dream of one day being released from my tether, my work complete, transformed into turquoise sea glass, smoothed by tides and resting on a shoreline beach, waiting to catch the eye of a strolling passerby. So I'll put a link in a moment, which to my website, which has the animated film, which is really extraordinary how this animator transformed that poem. And I'll read one more. This is being turned into a film right now, and will be released in film festivals globally in the coming months. Welcome to the Tenderloin. Long notorious, drawn in caricature for grit, struggle, and the invisible unhoused bound to the street. But what of the single women living above a bustling cacophony of music-filled pavilions? A mosaic of flappers doing the grizzly bear and bunny hop, resolve fueling every shimmy and kangaroo dip. They refused to be whitewashed as they landed in waves. Urban migrants braced for struggle. What of suffragette Maud Younger, printing resolve from her pamphlet-cramped office on Ellis Street? A pioneer of justice, determined and bustling, a clarion feminist for the struggling mosaic. Of Reverend Paul Smith, who decried this mosaic, seeing only sin-seekers. From his pulpit he railed, "They are poor, deluded women." Arm in arm for the struggle, they marched on Smith's church with resolve, while raiding police pocketed bribes from bustling speakeasy operators, scattering patrons into the street. What of the Chronicles, Herb Cain mining stories from each street, Turk, O'Farrell, Geary, Van Ness, to craft a mosaic of Pulitzer-winning columns? What of the gay community? They were welcomed, out and proud, by the bustling passers-by, and Monica Helms celebrating transgender struggle with threads of blue, pink, white, and resolve, a flag that marches among rainbows in June. What of the resolve traded by hucksters lining the sidewalks of Market Street? Of headliner Sultry Sally leading a mosaic of music box burlesque performers as they filled theaters each Saturday night with bustling peals of ecstasy? Of the artists who sought refuge, their struggle for acceptance? Of Janis Joplin's songs of struggle sung in whiskey gravel spiked with resolve? What of Allen Ginsberg's howls, verses bustling with portraits of the forgotten and overlooked? They broke their backs lifting Moloch to heaven. Of the street artists, the aerosol activists, painting homage to a fringe mosaic. Pause and see this community, born from struggle, as they fight with resolve on each Tenderloin street and its bustling, unfinished mosaic. And that's after the Tenderloin Museum, San Francisco, California. And if you are curious what the form of the poem was, it's a sestina. And if you want to torture yourself as a poet, write a sestina someday. They're powerful, beautiful, complex, and was perfect for this poem. So later this year, I hope you'll track down that film, and I'll put my website in the comments so that you can see the wonderful animation from the first poem. Thank you.
Thank you, James, for sharing. We really look forward to seeing the films as well. Yeah, do share the links. We will send it out to everyone through a newsletter as well. So thank you so much. Next up, we have Francis DiClemente.
Hello. Appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I'm glad to be joined by so many great poets from all over the world. I'll read two poems. First one, both pretty short, but the first one is called Stanwyck Street. A vanilla ice cream cone covered with sprinkles of dirt, a handful tossed by small grimy hands across a chain link fence. A blonde child's whine, flat, constant, and eerily melodic. The girl then turning away, screaming upstairs to her mother, sound asleep in the mid-August heat, the lime green curtains fluttering in the second-story window of the adjacent brick building. The child just standing there, scraping off the grit and licking the melting residue trickling down her forearm. That's the first one. And the second one is called Revelation. This one kind of came to me after I was driving around. I used to live in Arizona, driving around at night in the desert and just listening to the Grateful Dead. And it's not the greatest poem, but what I like about it is the words came to me like all at once, and I really didn't need to edit anything afterwards. It's called Revelation. A courtship of contempt, filled with swirling fury and churning angst, not halted by the hands of God. Zealous rituals express unwavering faith, and outstretched arms set hearts aflame. Trees topple under a crescent moon, a gleaming scythe that carves the frost-burnt night, invoking stones to crush the gnarled root, as fragments of identity rupture into paralyzing self-hate.
Thank you so much for sharing your poetry with us today. The poems were amazing, and your reading was great too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Sukriti Chopra.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to start by saying that I'm so excited about this World Poetry Project, listening to everybody's poem, but just the idea of it being a worldwide thing and being able to do it from wherever you are in the world. So a little bit about myself. I grew up in India, and over the years, I met Srishti and Saumya in the amazing programs they've been organizing from a very long time. But I've lived in Europe and California, and now I'm mostly based in Canada on a tiny little island. But right now I'm in California, so it's early morning and I just about woke up. I'm an editor and I teach writing. But I also write myself, and I've been published in various publications. In fact, I'll be missing the launch of an anthology of poems of island poets, the place where I live, the province of Prince Edward Island. So next Friday, there's a book launch, and for uncontrollable reasons, I'm not there. But that's a little introduction, and I'll be reading 2 poems. One of it, the first one is, I think I'd say my favorite work that my favorite work that I've written. Usually I tend to write poetry when in my most troubled moments, but over the years I've practiced to write it just by beautiful inspiration too, not just painful inspiration. But this was 5 years ago, so this poem is from 5 years ago, and still remains my favorite. It's called What I Wish I Could Tell a New Widow in Her Grief. I wish I could tell her that the constant pain in the chest will ease up eventually. But then I would also have to tell her that it will come back unexpectedly, as sharp as the first time when his heart stopped beating. I wish I could tell her she would be able to smile again, even laugh. But then I would also have to tell her that it may feel hollow, it may feel like betrayal, it may take months and even years. I wish I could tell her that joining a grief support group will help, that she will find strength in shared experiences. But then I would also have to tell her that every day she will cry not just for her own pain, but for those who have lost a husband, a wife, a lover, or a child, that she'll probably cry more for them. I wish I could tell her that he is in a better place, peaceful and serene. But I also know that he did not want to go. I wish I could tell her that things will get back to normal, but the reality is that this will change her forever. I wish I could tell her that she will be able to enjoy life and its bounties once again. But then I would also have to tell her that the joie de vivre may never come back. It may not, it may be soon, it may take years. I still don't know, I'm still waiting. I wish I could tell her that angels would appear in various forms at every step of her journey, watching over her, taking care at the exact moments she will need them, at every stage of her healing. But there will also be people who will tell her, you've got to move on, snap out of it, this is life. For this, I tell her, just shut those people out, they are not worthy to be in your life. I wish I could tell her that she will get kindness from unexpected places, from strangers, acquaintances, family and friends alike. But then I would also have to tell her that finally, it is she alone who has to wake up to that empty pillow by her side. And it is she alone who knows where it hurts, how much it hurts, and that it hurts all the time. I wish I could tell her that a time will come when her whole being is not consumed by the grief. But then I would also have to tell her that there will be moments when it'll hit her like a blitz, catch her unawares with the same intensity, at the whiff of a familiar smell by a packet of crackers in the supermarket, in the opposite part of the globe, when she'll do that yoga posture that he complained he could never do. I wish I could tell her that she will feel joy again, but then I would also have to tell her that there will be times when she will just not feel. I wish I could tell her that she will travel again to the most beautiful places, for there is still a lot to explore. But then I would also have to tell her that she will sit there and wonder what's the big deal. I wish I could tell her that one day she will be able to put her grief in a room and sit with it when she needs to, but that she will be able to walk out at will and close the door. But then I would also have to tell her that it will still be there for the rest of her life. That room will take up space in her next house, next city, next country, a little space even in the camping tent. It will always be there. It will remind her constantly of the grief she's endured, of the lover she's lost, of the life that vaporized one fine day, and it will also remind her of the love they had, of the passions they shared, of the journeys they took, of the silly moments that angered her at first and then became stories that he had to tell as an old man, but which she will have to now share, for he left too young. I wish I could tell her that he would persist in every atom of her being, But then I would also have to tell her that there will be times when she will wake up in a panic, that did he even exist or was it all a dream? I wish I could tell her that his deep, shy voice will always ring in her ears, and he will talk to her from the heavens each time she calls out. But then I would also have to tell her there will be moments when she won't be able to remember the sound of his voice. I wish I could tell her that the journey of grief has stages and she will get through them at her own pace. But then I would also have to tell her that the process is not linear and definitely not unidirectional. Just when she'll think that she's found a semblance of sanity, one fine day without warning, anger and sorrow will punch her in the gut. I wish I could tell her that this too shall pass. In a way it will, but it will stay with her in her joys and sorrow, work and travel, in laughter and tears, in fun times and holidays. It will stay, as it should, for he was part of her life that'll never change. I wish I could tell her there will be a time when she will see a path and things to look forward to. But right now, it is the end of her life as she knew it to be. So I will not tell her, for right now nothing will seem right. So I will not tell her, for nothing I say will make it better. So I will not tell her, for I do not walk in her shoes. So I will not tell her, for it is her journey and hers alone. For now, I tell her just breathe. So that was my first poem. I wrote it a while ago, but it comes back to me in moments here and there. Doesn't change, like I said. Okay, the next one is a little lighter. It's quite lighter, and I wrote this last year or a year before. It's called The Dandelions Emerge. So a little bit about it. So I grew up in an area where there were no 4 distinct seasons. So there's really no transition between winter and summer. We don't have a real spring. But when I moved to Canada, it's so barren. It's so barren and snow covered, or sometimes not on the island. It's more just barren. And then you see the dandelions emerge, and it's so beautiful. So I didn't really even know that dandelions are considered weeds. For me, it was just beautiful. And then a friend at the time just remarked that, oh, they're weeds. And I'm like, no, they're beautiful. Why wouldn't you just grow them in your yard? So this was a quick, short poem, but I still love it. And I read it after 2 years to send it in for the project. And oh my God, it is still relevant. And this is spring right now. So it's timely. The dandelions emerge. Weeds are wild, weeds are resilient. Weeds are hardy, not at all needy. They travel with the wind and make home where they land. They don't fit in with the pretty flowers in the picket fence dream. They do their own thing, no care in the world. Weeds shine in the sun and in rain. Wind doesn't uproot them, they are grounded and firm. So much to admire and wonder. I like the weeds, they're quite like me. If you see me, you would find the magic in the little weed, enjoying the sky nestled under the trees. That's all.
Thank you so much, Sukriti, for sharing. And it's very nice to see you in California right now, because I've seen you in Delhi. I know that,
Yeah.
you've you've been living in Canada, and now you're in California. You really make us feel like the world is a small place. The poem that
Yeah.
you shared, I've seen you perform that live. And I know how deeply personal the first poem is for you. So thank you so much for, sharing it with us.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us this platform. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mary Freericks. Hi, Mary. Please unmute your audio.
Okay, if you click on CC, hide captions, if you can't hear me, you can see what I'm reading on the screen. Okay, as far as poetry goes, I remember my mother, we were supposed to take naps. I was born in Iran, and I was in Iran at the time, a little girl. And she said, say a poem. And I said, what is a poem? And she recited one. And then I thought, well, it was a sonnet, she said. And when I was in college, they had me write a sonnet, and English was my fourth language. And it was very hard for accents and rhyming and all that. And then I went to a writer's group. I was writing various articles and so forth. And I read about Summer Is, something I'd written, and the sunshine and miniature golf. And they said, "You've written a poem." And I said, "No, it doesn't rhyme." And two people argued over it, but it turned out it was free verse. So once I learned free verse, I could do it. So I will share a poem. Every Wednesday morning, I'm in California, Santa Barbara. We meet on Zoom, California teachers of poetry in the classroom. And I've done that both in New Jersey and California. They give you a prompt, and then you write a poem, and then we share the poem. So this is very recent. Math in English was hard, but spelling was even harder. I learned numbers in Persian, yek, do, se, char. When I was 11 and we moved to the United States, I learned in English 1, 2, 3, 4. Adding and subtracting in English was difficult. Eventually, I was able to add and subtract easily. I was good in math. 1 apple, 2 apples, 3, 1 rolls away, 2 remain. I could do it till the teacher moved me to the back seat and added multiplication and division. My brother Peter was patient with me as he helped. Eventually, I got multiplication. 2 times 3 is 6. 20 times 30 equals 600. But division was more difficult, and it took 5 evenings after dinner till I got Peter's demonstration. I could handle 27 divided by 7, but 37 divided by 7 was difficult, and I had to learn decimals or fractions. Now I was ahead of the class. The teacher asked me to demonstrate fractions on the blackboard. Spelling was harder. Why was E added to some word endings and ing to others? And why was there a K before night? Why were there 2 nights? Why not come up with a new word for the warrior? Miss Slade knew I couldn't spell. She assigned a partner to help improve my spelling so I could pass her spelling test. We practiced our desks side by side till I got 100 on a spelling test, and Miss Slade smiled. Now I no longer need to know how to spell. All I need is my Apple computer and AI to say goodbye to spelling mistakes. Now I have, I think, 10, maybe 12 books on Amazon, and this is one of the latest, From Wife to Widow, and it has my painting on the cover because I'm also an artist. And this is, my husband died when we were rather young, from wife to widow. And I'm going to read one of these poems. Am I too weak? My body is splitting my head. I cannot stand this separation. As it darkens, I expect your car to pull into our driveway as you arrive home from work. I expect your key to turn into our door. I expect your arms to lock around me. How tall you were, how beautiful your naked body. Even with tubes stuck in your body, you were still beautiful and young. Where is Christ to ready you for resurrection? Why could I not use my lips to pull open death's drawer to pull you back into my arms? In that contest, how easily I knew death won. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, so much for sharing, your poem about, I know that you moved to the States in 1947, long time ago, and I know that your roots are in Iran. So that
Yes.
poem about, moving to a new country as a child is quite interesting. And the second poem was really like deep. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank
Next up, we have Arshpreet Kaur. Is Arshpreet here? Okay, so since Arshpreet is not here, I'm going to put Carmen Bardequez-Brown next. Is Carmen here?
I see Carmen. But
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Good evening. Buenas noches. Thank you for the invitation for all of us to gather and listen to each other's poem. I appreciate that. Thank you. Baba Luhashe, Horishas Ben Bete, Haidamen la porción, Horishas Suelashe, asfalto enviando, candomble candoneando, sirenas benbeteando, los sueños penetrando. Enchante sol, se embrujenme, ay con el sol, consuélashe, orisha suelashe, orisha suelashe, ashe, ashe, ashe. Hey. To understand, you need to taste memories of salt and water, blood, chains, drowning in the middle of the ocean, a Christian boat, foreign tongues, memories, sounds, despair, swallow souls. Yemaya, Yemaya, llévame, Yemaya. The next poem is titled Rican Issues. Actually, I'm from Puerto Rico, via New York, so it's kind of a Puerto Rican, New Yorican. This is called Rican Issues, like I said. Say what? Could you please repeat? Did you say molleta, prieta, morena? Oh, African. Soy puertorriqueña. Yes, Puerto Rican. That I don't look what? Oh, I guess I don't look café con leche, mancha de plátano, mulata, hielo, grifa. By the way, I did not know that there was a Puerto Rican look. And what exactly is that? That I just look more what? Well, ¿y tu abuela dónde está? I should say abuelo, tía, tío, y todo el barrio. Let me tell you something. For your information, most Ricans are a mix of Africans, Spaniards, and Native Americans called Taino. By the way, no one has seen a Taino in the last 500 years. Exactly. You know what that means. My English is covered with spices, spices from the Caribbean, spices that you might find strange because you were born in this cold fast food mall of a country where Spanish is a foreign word that you are ashamed to learn. And when you try it, it's not there, only mumbles of a murmur, susurrando el olvido, a regañadientes, pretendiendo, escondiendo la vergüenza. You remember Puerto Rico on the second Sunday of every June, when everybody's suddenly proud to be Puerto Rican. No, the word is Boricua. Boricua's here, Boricua's there, Boricua's everywhere. And everyone waves the flags that they don't even understand. And no one knows why they are here. Yes, here now. Do you know why your parents or grandparents vinieron aquí? ¿De qué pueblo? ¿Cuándo te bañaste en las aguas calientes del Caribe? Better yet, do you really know that we all come from the motherland, Africa? Even the Spanish people that came with Columbus, however you want to say it, lived 700 years under the Moors. You heard that right. The Moors, as in Arabs, as in Black Arabs. So, in other words, not only I, but we have over 500 years of African mestizaje. The so-called white people that everyone is so proud of, as in my grandparents are from Spain. Well, if they are, they too have negritos in them. Remember the Gitanos? But that is another story. Getting back to the Boricuas issue, what history do you know? Ever heard of Aguaybana, Albizu Campos, Palés Matos, Rafael Betances, Arturo Schomburg, Francisco Oller, Julia de Burgos, Rafael Hernández, Segundo Ruiz Belvis, Enrique Laguerre, Mariana Bracetti, Pedro Pietri, still having problems figuring me out? Or is it that you just don't know who you are? I wrote that poem after I went to a Puerto Rican Day Parade in New York, and it's always this conflict between cultural dissonance between the Puerto Ricans and the New Yorkers. You know, we're both Ricans, but some are in the mainland and some are in the island. You know, the next poem is titled Salsa Dancer. Eyes transfixed, movements, possession, syncopate contortion, sacred body meditation, Shango libations, blessings of the soul, timbales, negrura, improvisation, conga bongo timbales, candomble plena, surrender to the temple, demigod of carnal desires, caderas bathed in the holy waters of Yemayá, electric arms, melodic legs, sensibilities sacrificed to the altar of creation, bomba candomble plena, orishas breathing fire, rituals, negruras, tambores, timbales, bongo.
Thank you, Carmen.
You're
Wow,
welcome.
the reading was incredible. I have to say, this makes me want to learn Spanish so bad so I can understand everything that you said. But I could feel it. It does. I don't need to know the words to feel what you were trying to convey. You're such a great poet. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So Saumya is going to now take over as the host now. Saumya?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Shrishti, for co-hosting this with me. It's been a really, really wonderful evening here in Delhi to listen to the wide spectrum of pieces that have been offered from around the world. And I'm so excited for the rest of the evening as well. So our next poet is that I'd like to invite is a poet who writes on mental health, and he is from Ireland, Daragh Fleming.
Hello, how's it going? It's been really, really nice to listen to you all, and there's such a mix of cultures and nationalities here. It's great. Like, it's funny as well. I know Mikey, who was first on. I mean, Ireland isn't that big. We live in different cities, but we often like perform together and hang out and stuff. So it was cool to see. And I know Luke Morgan was on yesterday as well, another poet from Ireland who I also know. So it's cool. Like, I suppose in Ireland we're lucky that we're such a small country that we get to connect so often with other poets in the country. But I know that it doesn't happen in every place. So things like today are really special. So well done, Samaya and Tristy for doing this. Like, it is incredible. A bit about me before I read. Yeah, I'm a poet, but I'm also an essayist, novelist, content creator, which is actually one of my poems is about that and how I feel about that term, and mental health advocate. So Yeah, I was kind of trying to figure out what poems I'd read, but Samaya, when your introduction, you were talking about poetry as a career and like finding ways to monetize that. And most poets I know, even the ones that are like massively successful, they all have day jobs. It's quite a hard um art form to make a full living off of, and this is kind of what that poem's about. So this poem is called This Game is Rigged. Get it up here now. This game is rigged. If you go into this with aspirations to make lots of money, with the notion that you might actually make a living from this work, I wish you the best of luck. It can happen, but it will take years of scraping together enough money to get by, while your roommates struggle to choose which six-figure salary job they'd prefer. It will be a road shrouded with doubts. You'll reach an age where people around you are getting married, buying houses, having kids, none of which you can afford to do. So to make this work, it will take a titanic effort, unbreaking perseverance, and delusional self-belief. There will be breakdowns, breakups, 1,000 different nights where you almost give up, pack it in, take a normal job, accept your fate as part of a system that was never designed for minds like yours in the first place. You'll be financially secure, but your soul will be corrupted by spreadsheets and KPIs, corporate speak, and quarterly projections. And only then will you truly be able to say which is worse: to be broke with a live dream, or to be rich with a dream that's broken. So when it happens and you've figured it out, give me a shout, because there's work to be done. We're not meant for the real world. Living to conform with the others was never going to work out. And that's that one. Thank you. So yeah, like I do a lot of writing around mental health, and like masculinity, and like a lot of my work kind of delves into this idea of like what masculinity is, and how we've kind of been shoehorned into believing masculinity is a very specific um category of characteristics. Even so, to the point where, like, I remember in school, I loved poetry and I loved English, but I couldn't admit that in school because I went to an all boys school, and I would have been like bullied if people found out I liked poetry. So even poetry itself was seen as like an unmasculine thing to consider, which is interesting considering historically it's been a very male dominated space. It's still seen as unmasculine to people who aren't involved in it. So I'm very interested in masculinity. Um, so I wrote this poem, and it's called If I Ever Have Boys. If I ever have boys, they'll be dangerous men. They'll smile at dogs and children and be a tonic to friends. They'll send flowers to their mother just because, and they'll be a shoulder for many when the world is too much. My boys will know that vulnerability is strength. They won't bottle anger, they'll learn how to express. They won't let pride be the reason they hide wearing masks while they're hurting inside. My boys will be dangerous men. They won't stay silent even when it's uncomfortable for them. They'll learn that their actions are more effective than words, but they'll use their voices to amplify the unheard. They'll know that love isn't something to perform. They'll see beauty in all of its forms. My boys won't grow learning to emotionally hide. They'll reshape masculinity into something they like, make it softer to touch. They'll know that who they are is more than enough. They'll know that being a man doesn't mean carrying the burden alone. They'll learn that an emotional man is a man fully grown. They won't settle everything with violent swings. They'll live in truth even when that truth stings. Yes, if I ever have boys, they'll be dangerous men. But the danger they'll be won't be the one society meant. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dara. I really related to both the poems that you performed. The second one, of course, it has a bit of irony in it. My boys will be dangerous men, but
Hmm.
it means dangerous in ways that are very different. And the first one,
Yeah,
of
like
course,
it's
yeah.
dangerous to the idea of masculinity that we kind of
Yes, yes.
have had.
And
Dangerous
I
to the
Yeah,
system, I
yeah,
suppose.
yes. And the first one, of course, about career choice being fulfilling and purposeful. Thank you so much for sharing both pieces. And
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to add a bit of context to this, to the India-Ireland connection. I think, firstly, Ireland has a really wonderful heritage of poetry. So I can see that there is a thriving poetry scene in Ireland. More so, there is some kind of an India-Ireland connection that is very deep. Like, one of my very good friends is Irish, and she talks about how Ireland also has a language that you speak apart from English. I think there's
Hmm.
the Irish language, and that
Yeah.
is getting lost. So a lot of Indian languages are also very endangered now. So that's definitely something that connects India and Ireland. Plus, yes, we did have a couple of other Irish poets, and we will also have Irish poets tomorrow. So after USA, I think Ireland is the second country that has been involved in the World Poetry Project so wonderfully. So thank you so much for your time. And I don't know. I think Shrishti is asking on the group chat. Do the Irish poets know of Elaine Doyle?
Elaine Doyle. The name is familiar. Like, is she a poet as well?
She is a poet. Shrishti, do you want to talk about her since you've asked?
Yeah, well, Elaine is a very good friend of ours, and she was here in India for the last 2 years. She was the head of YouTube Ireland for a
Okay.
while, and she's also a poet. So, she works in the corporate structure, but performs really good poetry. And in a lot of our open mics and shows in India, she performed, and the poems were incredible. She was so good on stage. And since you said, Irish people know each other, I just wanted to throw her name and just check if anybody knows her. Now
Yeah,
she's moved
I'm
back
just
to.
looking her up now, so I don't know her, but I've definitely been at events where she's been at them. So like, yeah, I should reach out and chat to her.
Yeah,
But
she's like now moved back to Ireland last week. So yeah, she's there now.
cool.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm also going to drop her Instagram handle. It's Staying Content. She also writes a lot on mental health, and she is a suicide survivor. So, you guys, please definitely check her out. She's got some wonderful content on her page. All right, so we are thankful, Dara, for your time, and we're going to move on to our next poet. Our next poet is Benedict. Benedict is a Belgian writer and activist, and we are very excited to hear the next performance by her.
Hello, Saumya. Thank you so much. I'm I'm not being thrown from one corner of the world to another. It's from feelings and insights, and all of a sudden I'm looking through a whole new window. It's fantastic. Time flies. It's fantastic. Thank you. Um, my journey is quite traditional. I started publishing in online journals, so I would have some references to send poetry to journals in print. And from journals in print, I moved on to my first publication in 2017, um, in which was I was approached by the same publisher, Red Press Publishing, that had published my first short story. So I write a bit of short stories, but mostly it's poetry. And my day job is actually very brilliant. I find I'm an educational officer in peace spirituality. So I'm a peace activist with Pax Christi. Very busy times. My colleague yesterday just returned from Ukraine. Um, yeah, poetry gets the mind off. And I also view myself as a bit of a social entrepreneur since I work for a nonprofit organization. Last week, I got my certification from Yale School of Management through Coursera as a social entrepreneur. Thank you. And I will read 3 short poems. Stop me after the second if there's no more time, please. And the first is about maybe it's not that relatable, about Black women. how we're supposed to be very strong and have to take everything. And there are a lot of negative connotations as well. But being strong is also a negative connotation. For example, in hospital, doctors will tell you that you do not have pain when you say you are hurting, because somehow it doesn't register. As a woman, it's already difficult. As a Black woman, it can be really difficult, because I was once sent home, went to another hospital, and my the recovery process took longer than a year. So I was serious, but I was just sent home, take the bus home. And yeah, it's called Formation. He was perfect, just not for me. A volcano, he pitied. You are unstoppable, he felt the need to explain. I had skipped a class I shouldn't have. A levels of taciturn hands, tiny this and that's. He had A level imagined me, as he hoyed how my wild rumbling over ambitious adventures had blown my chances of being in a balanced relationship. The train stiffened to a halt. See you. As soon as the shade of the last coach had cleared from the station, high noon was blazing hot in my face. You are unstoppable, the day insisted. A fully seasoned Black woman, Hawaiian archipelago in occasional sun, I could triumph how the flashing railway lights winked at me and I winked back, while I had blinked quite a few times before I crossed these holy tracks. But it's not all doom and gloom. I believe that doom and gloom comes before, well, an end is a new beginning. And that's what this poem is about. It first appeared in Ink, Sweat and Tears. Estuary. It is only the sun spitting rays, just the indefinite flight of a balloon that let go of its child. It's only squinting, just a nod, just the chatter of a flock on the wire hurried south. It's only the last call, just glass breaking the light and the sunflower turning away. It happens only at the end of a string of a season or a life, amid memories or even a dream that we climb, only in flight, higher than the clouds, that we travel further than misfortune, find the glance of another passenger on the same bus. It only happens then, in the blink of an eye, for our feet, our will, our open, our shared to arrive. It is only the river leaving the harbor, just the trading of the sweet for salt that dyes the scent of the sea and births you and me into plenty, the way our stomachs hurt with laughter. Do I have time for the last one? It's a short one.
Yes, you can go ahead.
It's about making choices and deciding that no matter what is definitely going to come at you, it can be in love, it can be in life, especially as a peace activist, you're going to go for it. And it's called Horses of the Sea. Seashells and collectors, and foam that licks the sand of their heels. I am treading water, a heathen of my heart, silence to my chatter. Here the spirit of a sailor tarries. There lies confirmation. Here stands a fortress. There communion beckons. An angler rocks back and forth. It is cast, the pagan sea and the believer. If he engulfed me whole, the ruler of the sea would steer his wild chariot away, leave the curious sky untamed, sacrifice its storm clouds to the breaker. Horses of the sea, halt the cart and raise me up. I'm casting my shell ashore. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Benedict. Very powerful words. And I think the story behind each and every poem is, what made the poems stand out even more. Like the first piece that you performed, I think there's so many stereotypes associated with women and especially women of color. So I can completely understand, where that's coming from. And it's almost as if, we are expected to suffer. Like, I mean, it's just Thank you so much for drawing our attention to that, and thank you so much for your activism as well. We are very, very lucky to have you here with us. All right, we are going to proceed with our next poet for today. Our next poet is Martha. She is a performance artist and a poet, and she also has a podcast known as Listen and Be Heard.
Thank you so much, Saumya. And I just want to say how much I appreciate this platform and what you're doing. And not only, everything that you started out with, but that you are creating writing community, which is extremely important. And I feel like that's something that I've done with Listen and Be Heard over the last few decades. It started out as an open mic and was actually a poetry cafe for a little while in Vallejo, California. And now I'm down south in South Carolina. And it's become this podcast. And I want to say also a radio show on non-commercial radio stations around the country. And if any of you have a favorite radio station you like to listen to that's even non-commercial, that's something also important to support, and maybe even suggest to them to carry our radio show. And we're always looking for authors and poets both to interview and to share their poetry. And my co-host, he actually writes original music for those poems. So instead of giving my social media handle, I would really love it if you all would just come to listenandbeheard.net, sign up for our email newsletter, and you can find out who our guests are and possibly be on the show as well. So I really appreciate what you're doing here, and I salute you. Carmen, I think she left, but she called the name of one of my absolute favorite poets. He was a friend of mine as well, Pedro Pietri. He was a Puerto Rican poet and playwright, and he has many things published, but he also wrote what he called telephone booth poems, which were extremely short, but he had a very thick volume of them. I think he wrote hundreds, maybe even 1,000 of them, and I don't think many of them are published, but I was very inspired by those, and I've written hundreds of what I call note poems. And I'd like to share a few of those today, more than two, so I'm going to just try to keep my eye on the clock and just kind of run through some of these, what I call note poems. And the first one is called Phone Warfare. Children with names remain. An old man cuts his foot in the grave and leaves a message pinned, a pen, a battlefield. A lot of the note poems that I write, I've kind of tried to separate them into themes. And so one of the themes basically is the body. And I've written notes to different parts of the body. And this is Note to Heart. Mind never rests, never gets. Working, learning, sewing, an endless seam. She joins us to this dream. To jaw. Your hinges screech for uncried tears. They strain against the irons of fear. Answers to rhetorical questions. You have freedom of speech if you dare. I'll change my game, but take care. The world's the same. This is called Brain Drain. I go to bed with what's in my head, walk around all day while my brain plays. It rambles like a horse. It even thinks it's me, but it's not, of course. Another note to heart. You are the bridge that water returns to. Traffickers scuff your surface, thinking they are going somewhere. Don't listen to idle chatter. You are what you seek. Tense shoulders. Custodians of one-way conversations and unwanted observations. Librarians of lies and whys. rangers for hidden dangers. Dear tummy, they weren't yummy, I know. The words left ear and right ear fed you all these years, and brain too, but they weren't true. You've been clenching miles of lies and unanswered whys, throttling feelings that mouth refused to set free and let things be what they be. I'm sorry. You deserve a vacation. I'm going to have a sweet conversation with me about it. And note this, I never asked for your opinion, still not, won't. That was a really short note. I don't know how much time I've used.
I think we still have like 2 more minutes.
Okay, great, thank you. And I just want to say how much I appreciate all the poetry that I've heard from all around the world today. And I hope that we will all manage to stay in touch somehow, because it's really great. And I salute you for doing this, Saumya. This is called Court of Love. Look in the mirror when you point and yell. Listen. Note to rumination. No satisfaction from your distraction. A one-way street is just a lie. No need for goodbye. Note to vanity. You're a curse, worse for wear. You pray, you say magic words, you're heard, you're preferred, but not here, dear. Don't try the lock, don't knock. Language of silence. Even when you were, you weren't. Now you aren't, 'cause you wouldn't and won't. There's just broken toys and white noise. But he never did, wasn't going to, didn't want to, wouldn't ever, can't anymore. What are you looking for? And I'll just read one more. My grain of. Some grist in my brain mill feels the grind of my mind, calling attention to tension between what I don't want to think I am thinking and the uncouth truth. Thank you all for listening. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you.
Thank you, Martha. Even though like each and every note poem is quite short, I think it's really impactful. It's really inspiring, and it is something for everyone. Like everyone, goes through these emotions where they're taken over by something that they don't quite know. So, and you used a bit of humor in places, the one about the brain and the tummy. So it's really quite an experience. Thank you, Martha, for sharing your poems and for the work that you've done for the writing community.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I didn't mention about Pedro Pietri that many of his poems were also very humorous and made everybody laugh. So thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Our next poet for today is Anjandev Roy. Anjandev is from a state in India which is very well known for its literary tradition. It is West Bengal, and lots of great poets around the world who are known from the Indian writing scene are from Bengal, including Rabindranath Tagore. He was the first Indian Nobel Prize winner in literature. We have some great minds from that state. Anjandev, I'd like to welcome you to read out your poems. I can see that Anjandev is here, but maybe he needs some time to get connected.
I think he's muted.
I have asked him to.
Hello.
He's unmuted. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. How are you?
We're very good. We can't see you clearly. We can hear you though, as of now.
Yes, is it all right?
Yes, now we can. Now we can see you.
Okay. It's nice to meet you, and thanks everybody. It's a great opportunity for me to share my poetry with all of you. What is poetry? That's I think it's a riddle to everybody, and even a great poet can define what is poetry. It comes from nothingness, and then it swings in the air, and it becomes sweeter to the readers, and even with the later it rises to at the sweetest level. It is one of the best features of the art, I always reckon. I love reading poetry, writing poetry since my childhood, and with the time I have become deeply integrated with this best form of art. And now I would like to recite one of my poems, and the name of the poem is Nasty World. Nasty world, the innocent and lovely creatures are crying, crying bitterly every moment. But their beauty is their curse. One cannot listen to the cry, as it is disgracefully buried by the devils in an inaccessible depth of the secret world. But one can feel it, keeping all other senses open and active. The devils of the dark worlds stealthily approach like the fierce hunters and demolish the beauty and virginity of the innocent world. They are ecstatic to enjoy the rustic pleasure. Ugly mind thinks ugly things, and ugly hands do ugly works, but never lament. They are made of such stuff that they cannot understand the dignity and class of the beautiful world. The world is undeniably a marvelous place, but obscene crimes and criminals are never obliterated from the core of which is ultimately defames and wrecks are. The unfortunate victims of the dark world cry in extreme pain and agony, but are never rescued from their abysmal conditions. Indeed, they die every moment by the crushing effect of the nefarious forces and gradually sink into oblivion from their nasty world. Okay, that's all. This is my first poem, and then I'd like to recite my second poem. Just it is two travelers. Two travelers had traveled a long way. They became weary and exhausted. At night, they took shelter in an inn. They lay in the same bed and dreamed different dreams in the sleepy realm. One traveler dreamed an evil dream. Fear and anxiety thoroughly grabbed his mind. Another wayfarer dreamed a very pleasant dream. He slept with great ease and comfort at night. In the morning, they woke up with different feelings and expressed to each other about their dissimilar dreams in the previous night. Dream itself smiled aside as it knew how to cast its separate spells on different men. And that's all. It's nice experience for me for the first time to share my poems with you. And it's good luck and the best wishes at this hour. See you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjandev. Thank you for sharing those works, and I really loved your delivery as well. Thank you. It was a great experience.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so we're going to move on with our next poet for the evening, Kathleen McCoy. Kathleen is a poet. She's also a professor in New York. And yeah, she has this wonderful website that's very well maintained. You should definitely check it out. And I hope she'll leave the link after her reading.
I just posted the link. Thank you so much. And thank you to Saumya for including me in this wonderful event. I dropped in the chat my connections. I'm just an upstate New Yorker, but I have made several trips to Ireland, the country of my ancestors. So this poem is called Wall of Clocks in a Belfast cafe, and it was a cafe that literally had an entire wall of clocks, and they all had different times on them. The epigraph is from David Park, the author of The Truth Commissioner, and it's, "We rarely hear truth and reconciliation, just truth and justice. On this wall tick your childhood and mine, your loves and mine, your regrets, cacophonies of memory and harmonies in your ear, coagulations of unuttered grief, relentless news from a grittier Belfast, our cousins going at each other in the streets, Molotov cocktails and hurled rocks, rifles, truth without whisper of reconciliation. But this is not the Belfast we have read about. Now the streets are clean, the bricks new. 27% check the no religion box, yet boxes there still be. With Barry's tea, I toast a thing that is not a thing, a thought that is not, singular, beneath rolling gray clouds that siphon the self, that challenge perception, angle, and taste, domesticity, violence, numinousness. Dozens of clocks stand at attention, unseeing eyes fixed on the observer. No two declaring the same time. None advance, all compel stares. One moon-faced grandfather clock painted blue, granny's broken clocks, wooden clocks with cats or hens or roosters or sheep or horses or farmers and their wives, with mice that once spun in small circles to children's delight. Oak clocks, clocks of ivory, irony, aluminum alarm, plastic grace, yellowed whites like tired eyes, grays like boards left out too long in rain. All stand in pleasing array, but this signpost points in 30 directions. No wonder I never know what time it is. This liminal Belfast, in earliest glimmer of spring, wriggles into the raincoat and, despite its bloody past, could be nearly anywhere within the body or the earth. Sitting before this monument to time, its silent mellifluence of green, its threat or promise of birdsong or the sound of striking, I note how milky tea grows cool, limbs warm. In my absence, here I am. Do I have time for one more?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Saumya. This was a sort of spoken word poem that I wrote for 100,000 Poets for Change, and that's a global event online and in person all over the place on the last Saturday of September every year. And I started a branch on our campus where I teach. It's called While Waiting for the Physicist to Speak, I Think of You. And I think you might hear some echoes of Walt Whitman and Adrienne Rich. Under the stars, wondering when quantum gravity will grant you a life. You in your dorm with headphones blaring, pressure bearing down under glaring lights, so you almost wish tomorrow won't come. You in your ergonomic executive chair, wishing you could loosen your tie. You who wish you could remove the heels from your blistering feet as you persuade city council not to dismantle the last cardboard boxes where Bob, Juanita, Hakeem, and others spend their restless nights. You who seek fentanyl because you can't afford your pain prescription. You who care for children that aren't yours. You who inject your own buttocks again in hopes of having at last a child with your adored partner's brown eyes. You culling through your family's pockets so you can buy some peas and rice. You who gave away so much to charity that when your son returns, you cannot find a chair to offer him. You who hunch over your computer until your shoulders feel like boulders with jagged nerves. You who learn to walk and talk after the bullet grazed your spinal cord. You who teach others to think for themselves. You whose peace seeps through your pores, you who jam to the music of the spheres so well Pythagoras is beaming down at you, although you are no Caesar, no Christ, no Shakespeare, no Eleanor, no JFK, no MLK, no Gandhi, no Louis Armstrong and no Neil Armstrong, no Forshey, no Zelensky, no Kaminsky. You who write laws, study stars, set records, make records, sweat words because you always have the choice to bray or pray, berate or relate. Listen to this caw, this chirp, this trill, these skies. Now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathleen. That was just an experience. I think you've crafted really a poem that it's really really inspiring, and I personally I really love your work. So thank you for being here with us. And yeah, I resonate with all the positive comments that are being dropped in the group chat. Thank you for sharing, Kathleen. Our next poet for today is Swapna. Swapna Sanchita is going to be reading out two of her poems. She is in the corporate world, but she's also a poet. So we'd love to hear from you, Swapna.
Yeah, hi. I hope you can hear me. Thank you. I'm a little scared to be, speaking my poetry after Kathleen. It was like brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for having us listen to that. So I'm one of those people Saumya was talking about at the beginning. I studied engineering at college and then got a MBA degree. I run a business. I work in education. But when I hear speakers like Kathleen or Ruth, I don't think Ruth is here now, but when I was listening to her, I so realize that I've missed out on having studied literature, and I wish I did. I've always been writing, but I found my way back to actually writing stuff and getting it published during the COVID lockdowns. And I've realized that it's a tough job, and it's not a job. You have to do it for the pleasure it brings. It's as simple as that. It's not about the money. I don't know how that ever works out, but it's something you enjoy. And the need to have your words heard by someone else, understood, I think that's what makes us do what we're doing. So I was going to read one of the poems that was accepted by Saumya and Shrishti, but I've been changing my mind after listening to everybody. So here's one of the poems I'll be reading. It's called Creating an Oeuvre, and I wrote it a couple of years back when I just started writing again. So here it goes. I should be writing more verses, more lines filling more pages, but all I do is offer up excuses. The children, the husband, time shrinks is what life adduces. I'm trying to be a poet between bouts of seasonal coughing and runny noses, trying to stay in the running, stealing seconds from hours before assignments, a Monday morning class test, unwilling to let anything go, divest. It isn't easy crafting poetry, even on the quietest days. But as I put my poems and my boys together every single day, I'm making sense in a crazy way. Ink flows from ripped veins and fragmented hearts that skip beats and murmur when it rains. I write with short pencil stubs on the back pages of 4 ruled handwriting practice copies. My sonnets lose their meter. I'm forgetting to count syllables. I clutch onto words that do not rhyme, hoping they will find for themselves assonance, consonants, alliterations, and somehow manage perfect pairings. In serendipitous creations of words, I dismantle, rework, I build oeuvres. So as you can see, I have 2 teenage boys and a husband, so it makes writing all that more difficult when you have a day job and all this. So one poem that I was going to read at the beginning, I'll just go ahead and read that one then. His camera doesn't find me pretty. The lenses rove through the reeds to settle upon lightsome jigging groovers, away from my snarling forced smile, the sides of my lips curling into odd arches, my arms hanging stiff, odd. The overburdened dance floor moans under the weight of too many ogling gazes. Obnoxious joy smirks at the belly swingers attempting new moves. My wine hurls itself down my throat, drowning hurt. The minutes crawl into hours, waiting for exhaustion to call it a night. Only then can my body find respite, hiding quickly under the blankets, waiting for beauty to find me. So that was the second poem. I have a very short poem that I would like to read. If Saumya, can I do that?
Yes, you can go.
So I was listening to Sukriti's poem and Mary's poem, and I wanted to read this because of that. It's something, again, I wrote a few years ago when I lost someone very dear to me. Remembrance. In the crevices between night and midnight, in the hollowness of being full, I think of you. I think of you just before and just after, and all the little moments after before and before after, in laughters, in tears, and in all the unimportant, irrelevant pieces of time that I hold on to, I think of you. And in that labyrinth of yesterdays, I take the paths I walked with you. And because that's all that remains with me, I look back, I think of you. Thank you. I've had a wonderful evening. I love listening to all of you. Thank you so much for the poetry you read tonight. Thank you. And I hope you enjoyed mine a little bit too.
Thank you. Thank you for your words. I think you're a very, very moving poet, and probably, even though I know it's difficult for you to take out the time to do poetry, I see that, you are consciously moving towards it, and you clearly have, the experiences in life, being a mother, hustling your way with work, as well as, the kind of like the mental ability to process all these, different experiences into such beautiful poetry and condensing it for us. Thank you, Swapna. It was truly an experience to listen to you. Okay, we're going to move on with our next poet for today, Dr. Sangram Keshari Malik. I know that Dr. Sangram is here with us. I think he's just trying to join us.
Yes, I am here. Am I audible?
Yes.
So, my first, before presenting my first poem, I want to tell something about me. As you know, I am a professor of English. Initially, I was a journalist. And later on, I joined as a profession of teaching. And from the very beginning, from my school life, I continued to write in my mother tongue, that is Odia. And later on, I just tried my hands on English. I don't know how to like. My first, I have published, recently I have published a book, though I teach English, but I like my mother tongue Odia best. Recently, I have published a book, Amrit Pathara Jatri, and 2-3 poems I have translated, being inspired by Saumya. Thanks to Saumya for this
Thank you.
occasion giving me. So my first poem, after my death, with the first poem, I'm just going to present. After my death, I wish listening people say, what a tremendous smile I left on my lips after my death. Next. After my death, I wish listening people say, what a beautiful time I left with my people. After my death, I wish listening people say, what a wonderful personality I left around my world. After my death, I wish meeting my death in an open field and die under the beautiful sky and die listening the music of living my life, living my life successfully as a man, as an immortal man of this mortal world. After my death, I wish dying as an immortal man of this mortal world. This is the first word. I think it is not very difficult to just get into the meaning of this poem after my death. The second one, can I present?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
I like life and death poems. So again, the second one is just like that. Walk alone. Saumya belongs to West Bengal, so better can understand the first line of the great poet. In front of my office, there is a picture of Ravi Thakur. I like most, the great poet. What was telling the first Nobel laureate for India, for our country. Ekla cholo re. Dikkeও কথা না কয়ে তবে ekla cholo re. This is Bengali. So my second poem is Walk Alone. Someone is calling me, come alone. Calling from my deep sleep, oh my dear, come alone. Someone is calling me, come alone. Someone is calling me from my lovely world, calling from my lovely life, calling from my lovely lyrics. Come alone and come alone. Someone is calling me, calling from my sweet heart, calling from my sweet thought, calling from my sweet dream. Come alone. Someone is calling me in the morning, calling me in the evening, calling the midday sun. Come alone and come alone. Someone is calling me, calling from the mountain, calling from the fountain, calling from the ocean. Come alone and come alone. Someone is calling me, come alone, don't fear, come alone, I am here, come alone and come alone. So I have decided to walk alone. May it be untrodden, I have to walk alone, and I have to walk alone. That's all from my side. Saumya.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sangram. I think just for context, that poem was a response to Rabindranath Tagore's poem Akla Chalo, as Dr. Sangram
Right.
mentioned,
Yes,
and
you are right.
the poem basically is an inspiring poem. For all people who are into activism, that the original poem is an inspiring poem for all people who are in activism that have the confidence to walk alone. So that was a very deep reflection, Dr. Sangram, and I think you're doing absolutely wonderful writing in English, as I'm sure that you're doing in your mother tongue, Odia, as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next poet for today is Manisha, but I'm not sure that she's here. So because I don't see her name, she might be joining from another device. So Manisha, are you here? Okay, I don't think she's here. So we're going to move on to the next poet, Arshpreet. Arshpreet had missed out earlier. I think they were called, but they couldn't respond.
Hello, hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Give me a
Arshpreet.
minute. I'm not expecting my name, so give me a minute. Yeah, hello, everyone. I'm Arshpreet. Basically, by profession, I'm a teacher, but by heart, I'm a poet. Usually, I write on nature, women, and the war consequences and the pain that usually normal, common people feel in their life. I'm not a regular writer, but when something hurt me or maybe my emotions get melt, that time I usually choose my pen to write on the paper. So basically, I write on nature, but today my first poem is on a scare. What a scarecrow life actually, and how a scarecrow feels. So the poem name is The Solace of a Scare. Today I was born two sticks, a rope, a tattered disguise. Today I was born two sticks, a rope, a tattered disguise, a lifeless soul, stuffed with straw, left to haunt the open skies. I only born to stand in an enormous field of crop. As far as nobody's there, only the crops and I are here. I have orders to stand firmly all day, all night, all heat, all light, all rain, and all chill nights. They shape me to their will, no voice of my own. They want to see me as an ugly, scary puppet with angry eyes. A name cursed with fear, mean to terrify. Perhaps they want everyone to be afraid of me. That's why they keep my cheeks, sense the smile on my lips. No gesture, no expressions. I'm baffled why I'm here. Nobody asked me what I wanted to wear. Nobody asked what were my choices and desires. What are my likes and dislikes? What are my dreams to enjoy the life? They just made me stand here and I'm standing for their sake. Always feel loneliness beneath the azure sky, but no choices here. I have to be there. No love, no emotions, and no praise is the story of mine. Only only she has feeling for me, the gentle breeze that touches my feet. She loves my rapture face with pale skin that has two wide eyes and a damaged chin. She evokes goosebumps and I sway in delight. Yet, when I move, the birds take flight. But I don't like the way they get away. They are the friends of my lonesome days. They sit and rest to bask the sun rays. The dark of night, it's only we two. No disruption, no world, no point of view. We gaze at the moon, the stars shining bright, pearls of the sky in the velvet night. Gradually, fear turned into friendship with poem, their wings hooked up on me every day. Nowadays, they take long naps in my lap. Even the whisper, the secrets of tranquility, to change my opinions towards the life that I have. They are free birds, can't understand the pain of a soul that caged from many long years. They soar where I can only dream, yet they return, perching on my tired frame, and I am happy for them in sunshine and rain. Perhaps I have learned to love my fate, to sway with wind and embrace my state, started to live with bliss and enjoying the wind kiss. Unfortunately, I'm just a scarecrow that has limits in life, but I'm still trying to drive a cheerful ride, a cheerful ride. So this thought arose when I was thinking about a scarecrow. So suddenly thoughts arise in my mind. Yes, yes, you can say it's a comparison with the woman life that usually we Indian women live in. Basically, we just compromise or sacrifice our whole life to our family, right? Second poem is based on a weed. Uh, how a weed is important, matlab, how a weed is feeling lonely, but actually weed is also just like a normal flower, a normal plant. So the title of my poem is The Voyage of a Wild Weed. I ooze my own through old cracks. I flounder my own to come back, delving deep into the soil's embrace, evolving from a seed to a weed to grow in my life. I carve my path with strength and resolve. No obstacles can hold my wrath. The wrath of growth stems from the fear of love and care. No one admires and appreciates my ways. My endeavors unnoticed. No one sees my flair, as I'm just a weed with no worth and means, often crushed under feet, yet trying to achieve. My tiny birds bloom out and turn into lovely, bright, and colorful of sprite, yet none close to touch and feel fragrance as they think I'm sense of it. All are eager to see the exotic, aromatic flower that adored in abundance, nurtured with care, but no one knows the voyage of a wild weed, how it strives to grow with strength to succeed. I climbed towards a peak against all odds. The other says it's just a weed that blooms wild and flourish in the fields. My spirit unbroken, my strength never shook. It doesn't matter that I'm just a weed, just a weed, just a weed. So thank you so much, everyone, and thank you to the host, especially that given such a wonderful opportunity to me to just open my views globally. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arshpreet. The first poem, of course, very hard hitting. And I think that a lot of, Indian women feel like they're placed in circumstances they have no control over. So thank you for the references and thank you for giving us strength through that. We're very happy to have you here. And we're going to say, goodbye now. But we will move on to our next poet, Rosalind.
Thank you.
And Rosalind, thank you.
Hi.
Rosalind is an artist and she is a poet. Her poetry is a lot to do with sound and shape, and I think we will learn more about how those different elements are connected through the poetry that you're going to read out today.
Thank you. And thank you for this incredible opportunity and to listen to poets from all over the world. And I just, I write about life. I write about everything. I write about aging, about love, about my parents' immigration to this country and the hope that they felt running away from discrimination and danger and war, politics, this beautiful place that I live in. Some are angry, some are meditative, some are calm, some are violent almost of my poems. And I noticed that this is what poets do from all over the world. We write about what we feel, what we experience, what we love, what we don't like, what we want changed. So I didn't know what to choose. And I'm going to read, hopefully, if I have time, one or two from one book. These are my books. They're on Amazon. This is my latest. It's called Life in the Body. These books also have my paintings on the cover and inside. Same here, Every Glittering Chimera. That was the one before. I've got 4 books now, and these 2 are the latest. So I'm gonna, whoops. I want to spend more time reading than talking. So the first one is a rant, and I wrote it, well, this book was published, published in about 2012. So I wrote it a little before that, and nothing has changed. Instructions for heart-rending times. If thunder can roar its outrage, if lightning can slice the oak in half, send branches and burnt wood through your window, break glass, shred nerves, why can't you roar your truth? Thunder doesn't have a mouth. Woman, you can bellow louder. If you don't speak, your tongue becomes sand, your art, yard sale junk, trivia to decorate a meaningless wall, a smothered voice cannot be heard. You read the Morning Times, guns shoved into the hands of boys, girls forced to suicide, bombs strapped to little bodies. A victim, quadriplegic, claims he forgives the shooter at the festival. You can't. Your head shakes. Shouts of no vibrate in your bones. This terrifying season's repetition is hard to swallow. Your throat is parched. Is head shaking all you can contribute? Gale winds scream. Outside flood. Thunder must originate in you. Though the rain is deluge and you're afraid, arise as lightning to pierce the dark. Don't sleep, don't pray, ignite. You once believed in prayer and flowers. Peace petals did not rain down from the sky. Let your angry woman's voice break out, shred nerves, resist the urge to hide under the bed. Smash your pretty landscape with thunderclaps, unbury the blameless dead. So that's my rant. And now, life and death and this beautiful place that I live in. I live on Eastern Long Island beach community. It's very beautiful here, very damp, and you can see the weather rolling in. Brief passage. A single cormorant, feathers spread, lazes on dark ripples. A blaze of red and aqua sunlight bolts through clouds on the horizon. Halyards ring out evening in the marina as sailboats sway in wave break at the jetty. Geese fly currents above, their shapely V dappling the light of moonrise. I hear myself ask, no one listening, how many others have passed time seated on a bench, admiring the white windmill across the water, blades blinking in dusk. When my wings have flown me through the portal that unlocks death's hidden prize, will I become the breath of wind or sister to a seagull
perched on a pier? Will I mingle with rainbow rays to stir a lonely woman's imagination as sun sets on this bench, this bay, this beach, thinking how fast light grows dark as daylight dims? The cove so quiet on peaceful days, turbulent when weather whips the shore, ebbs and flows in rhythm with the moon, will not remember I spent this solitary moment holding close its aching beauty. May I read a third one? Try to go
Yes, yes, you have time.
And now this, my husband and I study Buddhism, and this is some of the teachings that we think about, and reincarnation and all of that wonderful stuff, and compassion and all the great things about learning about what Buddhism really tells us. Okay, so, oh, this isn't, wait a minute, is that the one? Yes, okay, never mind. So I use a epigraph by Thoreau, Buddhist butterfly. The question is not what you look at, but what you see. Thoreau. I am Morpho Azul, soaring through the yawning canyon of the river Pacuare. I shimmer blue circles around the raft. I flare, purpling the sky, glint off jade and amber rock walls. My iridescence is ephemeral, like your bloom. I was once your mother. I am green veiled white, siphoning lavender in your garden. My labial palps dwarf my head, living, sentient tentacles, long as new wheat sprouts, fine as chantilly lace, tender cilia test pollen, sensing perfect delicacies to bring to my mouth, like your lips that open to a kiss. I was once your wife. I am the bee that buzzes jasmine around the summer pond. Spray me with poison and you defile your own sweet honey. Remember, you become me. I am a fruit fly, a worm, a flea, like the acrobats in old Fred's circus. I am carbon copy. I am illusion. Once I was your brother. I am the ant you capture on a sticky chamois. You starve me, trapped, while you feed your need to flourish. Best you remember, you were once my mother. Thank you guys for this incredible, beautiful opportunity. I really just have been loving it so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosalind. And you've been so supportive throughout the last 2 days. As a listener as well, your capacity of listening is absolutely brilliant. But today I wanted to definitely thank you for your poems. And the last one was very touching, very moving, because there's just this instinct to be, I wouldn't say selfish, but at least not to be selfless. When we see mosquitoes or insects or, different creatures, or even different people, there is that lack of oneness and feeling and empathy, especially now more in the world than ever before. And you start to remember, like with obviously, Buddhism and the ancient religions and the ancient philosophies, I wouldn't say religions, ancient philosophies, that all of us are connected in so many ways, all plants, all animals, all insects, all people. And this is a journey that we are all in together. So thank you for that very deep reflection. I loved that poem. Thank you.
Thank you. I lost the chat. I wanted to see it, but now I can't find it. Oh dear. It's me and
No worries. No worries. Take your time. The chat is still there. I think people have been leaving comments there too.
Thank
All
you.
right. Our next poet for today is Varun. Varun mentioned that he wouldn't be able to join, but now I see that you are in the
I
participants. So in case you can still join us.
Soumya, I'm there, but I'm in my car, so I don't
Okay.
have good light.
Okay,
Can
no
I
worries, no
perform
worries. Maybe
tomorrow?
we
Is
can,
it okay if I
yeah,
perform tomorrow?
I'll have to look at the lineup, but we'll try our best.
Okay. Otherwise, just let me know if if there are more people lined up. Then maybe towards the end I can try. Okay.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Let's see. Yeah,
All right.
okay. Drive safely.
Thank
Okay, so our next poet is going to be Nandini.
Hello everyone. I am Nandini from India. Firstly, I would like to thank Delhi Poetry Slam for making me a part of this program and giving me a platform so that I can share my poetry with you all. So, my literary journey began when I was in grade 1, and my poem was published in the school magazine. Since then, my poems have been a part of the school magazine almost every year, thanks to my teachers. And even last year, one of my poems was published in the Wingward Poetry Prize anthology, which again encouraged me to turn my hobby into a cherished passion. So now I would like to read two of my poems. The very first is Ever Thought Why, which talks about the transition of childhood to adulthood in a human's life. So it goes like, ever thought why your best friends became strangers? Lollipops turned into cigarettes. Remember when crush denoted only your anger? When getting high only meant swinging on the playground? When dad's shoulders were the highest peak in the world and mom was your hero? Your worst enemies were only your siblings. Race only meant who ran the fastest. The only drug you knew was paracetamol. When wearing a skirt wasn't vexed. And only thing that could hurt you were your abrade knees. When love only meant friends and family. When label was only the tag on your clothes. Goodbyes only meant until tomorrow. We all said we couldn't wait to grow up. What were we thinking? So, if you want to know us, then know us by who we are and not by how we are labeled. So, this was my first piece. Now, I would like to read my second poem, which talks about the tearful goodbyes on the farewell day of your school. It is titled as The Last Bell Rings. The last bell rings, the hallways fade, echoes of laughter softly laid, the scribbled desk, the crowded halls, the dreams we shaped within these walls. 14 long years passed so fast, a treasure trove of memories vast. From whispered jokes in classroom air to friendships built with love and care. The uniforms, now memories, are stitched with golden melodies. Each classroom held a world untold, where stories bloomed and minds took a hold. The walls we called our second home will now stand alone. We say a goodbye with teary eyes, yet hearts so bold for new stories awaiting untold. And now we stand a step away from who we were to who we'll stay. So here we stand on future's brink with all we are and all we think. One chapter ends, another will start. School will always live within our hearts. Though we go separate ways through countless nights and endless days, a part of us will still remain, our school, our heart, our love, our name. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandini. Yeah, very, very beautiful poem. I know there's so much, there's a feeling of missing out when you leave school, and it's a place, you know, that you've been for 14 years. So leaving your friends behind and all those memories, yeah, it's hard. Thank you so much for that reflection. Our
Thank
next poet today is Lola Haskins.
Okay, well, I'm overwhelmed. First of all, thank you, sisters. I cannot imagine what you've accomplished. Second of all, I am just so excited by so many things I've heard that I can't even keep them straight anymore. And I'm humbled. Thank you. I more than appreciate this. So I'm going to hold something up just because can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, this is my newest book, and it's only about insects, the whole book. It begins, I'll just tell you really quickly, it begins when they asked the Dalai Lama what the most important thing you could teach your children is, he said, teach them to love the insects. And that's what this book is about. It begins with the Dalai Lama and ends with what have we done? So there's some politics in it too. And I was going to read pretty much all things from there, but I think I might change a little bit because I don't want to. Rosalind, you were so wonderful. I don't want to get in any kind of way. So, but I am gonna read some things. I'll read two very short ones, shortish. All my poems are pretty short. So this one's called Incantation for a Dead Bee. I will wrap you in a leaf and cut my hand over you. Under your red dome, you are powerful. Where the light comes through my fingers, you are powerful. Flower dust on your legs, you are powerful. I will lay you into the earth, bee. Under your small mound, you are powerful. I am nothing, bee, next to you. So that's the first one. And the second one I'm going to read from that is, it's called The Spirituality of Cicadas. The ancient Chinese thought they were spirits because they consumed only dew. And by 4,000 years ago, they were placing their replicas on the tongues of the dead. 2 millennia later, slough off the cicada's golden shell appeared in 36 stratagems, along with kill with a borrowed knife and befriend a different state while attacking a neighbor. The ancient Greeks thought they were humans transformed by the gods and ate only air. I believe that when my musician son is gone from here, he will teach himself their song. And a sample of there's some political stuff in here, and this is, I'll just do the really fast one. I read an awful lot. I interviewed entomologists for about 10 years. I read everything I could find for another 5. And I've had 4 young entomologists vet everything in this book because I don't want to have there be mistakes, if that makes sense. But so I read a lot of research papers, and I had 2 from the 19th century that I didn't copy. I just talked about them, and 2 from the 20th. And this one says, ants that enslave other ants will eventually be incapable of doing anything but fighting and preening. E.O. Wilson says, there is no lesson to be drawn from this. If you see why that's political. Let's see. Okay, I have time to do another one?
Yes, your
It's not
poems are
long.
short, so you can go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, they are short. Okay, this is about my son. My son is a musician, in fact. And this is a true story, except for the very end. And it's about an old musician named Juan de los Angeles. But I translated it when I wrote the poem to Juan of the Angels because it fits. Juan of the Angels sits inside the darkened bar. The hotel no longer pays him for the songs his fingers make on the instrument which is the marriage of his hands. Instead, they bring him coca and sidral, and when the bar's shadow spills outside and the stars come out, They bring him beer. Every day, Juan leans more deeply on his cane, but still he comes. Guests buy him drinks. Sometimes they stop talking. Juan plays on, talk or none. All his melodies are hungers. One evening, a boy, perhaps 14, comes in. The boy says nothing, but listens with his eyes. Juan cradles his guitar. Soy gitano, he says, gypsy. The boy, who thinks no Spanish, thinks Juan is saying his name. So he says Django and points to his own thin chest. Juan offers him the guitar with its mouth of mother of pearl and the small moons along the frets. The boy bends over. His dark hair falls across his face. He plays the song young Juan would play for the women to dance. All night, the same strum. The women's skirts whirl around the long fires. The stars are turning pale. The boy plays on, alone. I will say about this poem, I named my son Django because Django Reinhardt was in fact a French gypsy, and he was very famous as a guitarist when he was 16, and he lost the use of two fingers, one hand, in a fire in his caravan. And my son Django is going to be a musician from the day he was born. And my theory was that when a great musician dies, another is born to take his place. And I didn't think about that until my son grew up and became a great musician, which he is. He's a guitarist. He writes much better than I do. He can do it all. So this is what the best backstory from that poem. And thank you ever so much for having me.
Thank you, Lola. There are so many things in your poetry that I have to, follow up on. The political poetry, of course, but also, the poem that you read out about the music and the guitar. I think one of the and the comment that you made after that. In India, we also believe that when a child is in the womb, the mother and her will and the emotions that she's going through impact the child throughout her or their lives. So basically, so to say that what you're feeling, what your will is, gets passed down to the child. So I'm so glad that you share that kind of a relationship with your son, and I can't wait to even check out his work. I also know that you've collaborated a lot with different artists, different music.
Yeah,
And,
I have. I've collaborated with dancers and musicians and composers and visual artists. I've done a lot with visual artists. And it's my favorite thing. It's not, I don't own any of this, you see. It's so beautiful to have it all be one thing and it not be mine. And that's not mine anyway, if you see what I mean. And can I say one very, very fast thing? That explains why Django speaks Chinese fluently. Because there's this really fast, can I say really fast poem? I don't have time, do I?
Yes, you can.
Okay, well, I really want to because it's about that. Because I was taking Mandarin when I was pregnant with him. And this is, he spoke Mandarin so fluently in 2 months that he went and bought me a lantern over the phone. And when he went to this place, the woman wouldn't give it to him. She said, where's a Zhongguoren? And he started talking, she gave it to him. So he went to live in China. He got the job over the phone. He taught graduate students in a university in Hangzhou, which is where the emperors spent their summer palaces. So this is called Django in Hangzhou. When you walk to the market, your dark head sees over theirs as if you were a child held on your father's shoulders. They point at you and stare. You are 21 and empty as a 1,000-year-old wine jug. You're also in love, not with what is foreign in Hangzhou, with what is most yourself. The blue mountains, the cold and ancient lake, and in spring with the puffs of dust that follow the galloping carts of emperors. I think you were among the watchers that lined these streets when these trees were small. I asked you once, why is it that Mandarin is so easy for you? Because I'm a musician, he said, which is like the doll that still has many dolls inside. Thank you. Sorry, I had to do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ola. A very beautiful poem. We will be following more of your work. Please share your social media handle or your
Yeah,
website, wherever you share
I
frequently.
will. Yes, it's my website. I'll do
Okay.
that.
Our next poet today, I'm not sure if he is here with us, but our next poet in the lineup is Robert. Robert, are you here with us? Robert Haynes. All right, maybe something didn't work out, so I'm going to move ahead with the lineup. Is Srinivasan here? Because I don't see you either. So if you're logging in with another device, please let us know. Now, Srinivasan is probably also not here. All right, we're going to move on to our next poet in the lineup, Geoffrey. Geoffrey, we welcome you to World Poetry Project. We're really excited and looking forward to your poems.
Okay, thank you for having me. I don't know how you found me on the internet, but you know, it's mystical. And I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to read a poem that was published in a literary journal called Obsidian a couple of issues ago, and it's called Sand Lines. And I wrote it thinking about all these young people I hear about committing suicide, and how could a poet write something that could affect that or help that situation? So it's called Sand Lines. There's no magic sleight of hand, rabbit hat, dove sleeves. The same wind that blows Frida Kahlo's intensity blows my insanity. This jambalaya of dictators and priests believe their truth as bombs sprout wings and children sing, damn the system. I'll hang as effigy to become who I am. So we cast lines of sand to pull them back, not swift enough, nor skilled in holding sand cast lines. This is where the river bends and lives unwind. We cry for not seeing signs of being adept at translating tattoos and legends into golden hearts, wondering how blindness of color equates to markers of hate. Arms reach in every direction for delusions of humanity to hold us, wrap us in belief, embrace and enfold us in wombs of promise. What do we give for every call, every plea? Groupons to join the Marines, season passes to 12 steps, medals of St. Mark and Christopher, verses from some Sanskrit text whispering, things will be all right. We're here for you. Texting while driving, we continue to cast, attempting to pull boats to shore, make sailors of dreamers walking boundless seas. Yet, sand lines are so difficult to catch. And, you know, I didn't start telling something about my journey as a poet. I didn't choose poetry, it chose me. I didn't study it in school, didn't take poetry courses. And I went to an event. This next poem I'm going to read to you is something I wrote after I went to an event that poets have. It's every 10 years there's an event called Furious Flowers in the United States. And a lot of educators, it's mostly educators that come, but they invite the students that are on that campus. It's at a university campus. And I just saw it online and I just jumped in my car and went. And nobody knows me, knew me or anything else. I had just self-published a book of poems. And so I took a case of them with me, not knowing why. I just did it. I've been selling things on the street for years. And I went to the event, and there was a merchant, or he was a poet, but he was selling books. And the kids there, they couldn't afford the books. So he wasn't really selling many books, but he had tables full of poetry books. So I went to my car and got my case of books out of the car. And I started calling, and I went outside and I set up a spot, and I emptied the box, and I started giving away books to the students. And I put a sign on the box that said donations accepted. I wound up making more money from the donations than I would have ever made selling the books. And I gave all these students books for free. And then this next poem is called Words for Sale. It kind of evolved from that experience. Words for sale. Told me words come through you. They're a gift. You're a wordsmith, a poet, a griot. What did they cost you? 15 minutes on a PC, a pad of legal paper, a missed vacation, a trip to Fantasyland? What did they cost you as you caught them floating by, as you pulled them from thick, misty air, as you claimed their capture and signed your name to a bottom line you allege was sent through you from someone somewhere else? Did they move you, or did you move them? Were they honest, or a fascination with a rhyme dictionary? Were they useful to the plot, or taking up space in wasted borders? Did they matter in the lives of the innocent, change the course of events? Did they tell you she wouldn't have another baby out of wedlock? Did they stop AIDS from traveling to the 13-year-old baby girl on the bus, crying her heart into her hands? Did they matter to the 13-year-old baby boy who got AIDS and won't know AIDS got him till he's nearly dead? The baby boy who's inoculating the, quote, fast girls in the subdivision with his love. Girls go to doctors. Girls have periods. Boys have question marks. Told me poems come through you. Told me you're a griot, teller of tales, keeper of flames, torchbearer of truth. Poems come through you, through murky visions, crystal dreams, polluted acts, drummer's beats. Mystical, you say. Told me you're sent to share, yet words for sale, while 13-year-old babies don't have $10 to buy their freedom. No mama to tell them, no daddy to love them, only hope of a griot sharing messages griot's supposed to share. $10 for the words. Tell baby where to find love, hold baby with the words, caress baby with the words. Now you tell baby why they got AIDS? All they needed was the message that came through you. Didn't have $10. AIDS passed through baby girl, became her message, shared with her baby. That's right, she got pregnant too. Didn't have $10. AIDS didn't charge admission. TV ads stopped running when gay white men got the word. When gay white men spent $10, gay white men got it under control. TV ads disappeared below radar, submarine depth. Wasn't no conspiracy, wasn't no racial agenda, wasn't no liberal attack, wasn't no revolution, wasn't no declaration on apartheid, wasn't no mass genocidal scheme, wasn't no attack on Africa. Was what it was when gay white men got it under control. Literature circulated to the literati. Beneath horizons, under movements, away from the streets, where 13-year-old Black children don't go, don't hear, don't party, where 13-year-old Black children become host. Where were you, griot, with those words, those magic words sent through you? Words meant for their target, words to save 13-year-old babies. Did they find their way to radio waves, TV waves, microwaves, Wi-Fi waves? Did they find their way to 13-year-old baby girls, to 13-year-old baby boys in search of love, in search of being held? in search of being saved? Did they find their way to their target? Where were you, griot? Trying to sell those words to a publisher, to the fortunate, to the few, trying to sell those words that only charged you with distribution rights? Where were you, griot, with those words born in freedom, intended to be free? At a poetry fest in search of recognition, in search of press, in search of accolades, in search of $10? Baby girl got AIDS. Baby girl's baby got AIDS. Baby boy died from AIDS. $10, or was it 12? Thank you.
Wow, that was deeply powerful, and I think the power lies in how real it is. Like it's a reflection of the reality that we live in. So, Geoffrey, thank you for those very, very intense words, and you've left us with this feeling, this complex feeling that of reflection, and yeah, I can just say we are very grateful to have your presence here. And that poem really hard hitting. I mean, I think a lot of your work is, although it's online, I don't know if it's all in one place. I would love to find more of it, because it's the kind of poetry that I think also because of the different, the way that Indian society is, there are a lot of people who don't have any access to healthcare. There are a lot of people who don't have even human rights. So I think it's very relevant to even the concerns in our society. So I'd love to read more of your work.
Well, I'm in journals. I'm not in the network, so I submit work to journals. A lot of the work gets turned down, like most poets' work, But I'm fortunate enough to have enough in a number of journals that you were able to find me, I guess.
Yes, and also I think you're more known for your visual arts. Yeah, definitely. Yes, it's a great, it's obviously a great combination, like to be a visual artist and a poet. And I'm very surprised that we actually have a few poets who are visual artists today with us, and that also.
I thank you all for what you did, because this is remarkable, and I'm so appreciative.
Thank
really,
you.
Really appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to move on to our next poet in the lineup, Rita Anderson. And Rita is, someone who's a poet, and she's also been the editor of a literary magazine. So she has a lot of editorial experience with her. We are really looking forward to your poetry, Rita.
There we are. Hi, thank you for that. Thank you for the invite to be here. I'm very excited. I am a poet and a playwright. I'm in my studio. Some of my production posters are behind me. I'm a neurodivergent, so I'm having a really hard time sitting still. So excuse me if I fidget. So I do have 2 published books of poetry. And I have 6 published plays. And also, since this is in New Delhi, I am in these 3, published in these 3 New Delhi. This is Universal Oneness, an anthology of magnum opus poems from around the world. And this is Verbal Art and Language and Literature. Unlike a lot of people, I was not born into a family of writers, let alone readers. But I did start writing poetry at 8 years old, and it was my first love. And poetry remains my primary literacy. Also, I think in metaphor, and then I kind of have to work my way through it, kind of backwards, I guess. The first of the 2 poems that I will read is from my chapbook, which is called The Entropy of Rocket Man. It's from Finishing Line Press. It is also published in A Room of Her Own Foundation anthology, Waves, A Confluence of Voices. Just 2 quick things you might need to understand the poem. I am from the Midwest, And there is no ocean, there is no water, we have lakes, but this poem is called Anatomy of a Lighthouse. And the primary metaphor is, I was in Boston for one of my plays, and does everybody know what a widow's walk is? The top of old homes, because when you do live by the sea, the women would stand up there and wait for the ships to come in. It's called a widow's walk. Anatomy of a Lighthouse. There is something to be said about change for change's sake, and about contradictions, because although I enjoy swimming, I seldom do. In so many faulty ways, we credit ourselves due, claiming health because once, every day for a month, we rode a bike. Sighing nostalgically now whenever cyclists pass. We think we belong. Deaf to their laughter and how their fit bodies navigate inclines up a flowering seaside cliff, we still imagine an effortless glide among them. But in the end, there is no reality to it, but much comfort. During landlocked Midwestern winters, when steel firms but corn farms survive, the ocean is a hope I could hurt myself with. A cruel illusion that spoils the good I may hold in my hand. Besides, what do I know of the ocean other than it houses whales and red tide? What peace do I think would rise from a landscape where water gnaws at the edges? So why then seek refuge in you from dreams that perfect memory but cannot console? I have read that waves run in patterns and only in the ocean, where lighthouses line the shallows or reach out through fog. But why these wave-swept beacons over and over so many years after the wreckage? And why, when you never liked the water, does the image recur of you as a lighthouse, mine? Something solid and protective, a foreign role for us both. But I won't play the widow, a pouting statue affixed to the rooftop. Does being lost and finding a way out make us survivors? Even if we still don't see the world as it is, but as we are. I envisioned love, a place I could map, but that continent drowned with you. Our love was a boat I floated on that thinned to a raft before falling apart. When faith in your faithfulness, like the dark air around me, grew too heavy to carry, a light too faint to follow. I did teach English and poetry, and I was faculty at Interlochen. And as far as my poetics, I'd like to share this quote. I believe that art is when a human tells another human what it is to be human. This poem is actually from, somebody had mentioned Walt Whitman, the anthology Endlessly Rocking, which is poems in honor of Walt Whitman's 200th birthday. And this is called When Beggars Die, There Are No Comets Seen, which is a quote from William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. When beggars die, there are no comets seen. It is odd sometimes the things that attract us. A lover whose last name is French Moon, the yacht-like acreage of a stranger's shoe, a footnote that stays with you longer than the plot. Like that friend who drank too much green wine in Spain and is haunted by a woman who stripped in front of a landmark fountain that was captured in brochures as a 4-star must-see. Instead, I watched her for hours, she confessed. And although I know my friend's fear, I do not tip my hand by touching hers, because we too have strayed from the path. Like travelers who had been to distant stars, but settled for what we could hold on to. If our infrequent lunches are forgettable, then what do I do with her undulating woman in the fountain, who was not a foreign curio, but a warm soul who now belongs to me too, lapping at the fallen universe? And what if the undrawn line is the truest parameter, one we cannot erase, but would never cross? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rita, for your pieces of reflection. And one of the lines that I liked the most was that I think there was something about you see the world for not what it is, but for what you are. Very, very moving. I'm going to read the poems once again after this event to get to catch the entire gist of it. But thank you so much for sharing.
And thank you to my peers and to World Poetry Project for this.
Thank you. So we have two more poets who were earlier not available. So I'd urge you guys to stay for the last two poets. The first one would be Manisha.
Hi, Saumya.
Hi. Please go ahead.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this platform, this project, and a little something about myself before I start reading out the poems. Basically, I really resonate with one of the poets who says, "You do not choose poetry, poetry chooses you." So, just a second. And that's the case that happened with me also. Poetry chose me because words just flew out of me. Ever since I was really young, it became one of my hobbies, quite passion, if you kind of say silently. So, without further ado, I would like to read two of my poems. One is actually called Only Child. This is one of my first poems I ever wrote, and I discovered the passion. And I wrote this at the age of 12, 13. It's like almost 30 years ago I wrote this. So here goes. By the window, an only child, whose nature is so loving, tender, and mild, sitting upon her lonely bed, reminiscent of what her parents said. Remember, O daughter, when you have grown, you will have to face the world alone. The world besets many a shade, wearing from crimson, blue, black, and jade. They'll come and go as time has swayed. Soon all of them at one point will fade. Make your mind mighty and strong. Distinguish between right and wrong. Forever say a prayer in your mind. Always be humble, wise, and kind. Face your fears and never lose hope. For life is like walking a narrow tightrope. You'll be grown and we'll be gone. Remember these lessons from dusk till dawn. Reminiscing these words, she tenderly smiled while by the window an only child. This is one of my first poems, and this is a self poem basically based on me. The second one I actually wrote as an ode to my mom and dad. Sadly, I lost my parents. I lost my father at a very young age in my 20s, and I lost my mom in the year 2020. So this was like a remembrance for them. To the loving souls who nurtured every step of my life, all the words cannot thank you both enough for the sacrifices and strife. The protective shield that embraced the unconditional love that would forever pour. You kept me grounded with your values, yet you taught me to make my confidence roar. While I do apologize for harboring any innocent vice, but to thank you for everything to thank you for everything any amount of words cannot suffice. Will cherish you both in my memories deep and fond. With a heavy heart, I must set your souls free from my bond. Wherever your souls are, I wish for eternal happiness to be bestowed on both of you. Don't worry about your little girl. You taught her well, and with time she grew. Even 10 lifetimes will never be enough to repay the love and care. Thank you for being the best parents anyone can have out there. So yeah, these are
Thank
my
you.
2 poems out of it. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Manisha.
much for this platform. Thank you. Thank you so much for this platform. It was nice
Manisha,
sharing it with
your
everyone.
poems, they're so simple, but yet, they carry this essence of a lived human experience. Thank you for your works.
Thank you. Actually, most of my poems are based on real life experiences only. I have not published them. This is the first time. In fact, Only Child was published in Maryland. I had given it as part of a school competition. So it was published there. That was the only poem. But this is the first time I actually went through your platform. So that's why I'm really thankful for it.
Thank you.
And I have a hobby. Just 1 second, one more thing. I write impromptu poetry. Basically, in 15 minutes, I can write 20 to 25 lines. It's just impromptu. I don't pre-think it. So yeah, that's one of my hobbies. Thank
Wonderful.
you so
It's
much,
yeah,
Soumya,
it's
for
more
this.
like free form writing. A lot of poets do that to, get over writer's block as well.
Yeah, I have faced that also. So that also happens when I go back to it. So I have a joke. I call my poetry like table salt, free flowing. So basically, I write impromptu. I can't write it any other way, and in a particular rhythm. If you've noticed, it's like one particular rhythm all my poems are in. So yes, and once again, it's so beautiful to hear everybody's poetry, the depth, the essence of everyone. A part of you always you leave behind in your poems. I
We'll
believe that. Thank you,
Thank
Soumya.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
We'll move on to our last poet of the evening, Varun.
Hi, Saumya. First of all, thank you so much for this opportunity, for the platform. And a little bit about myself. I'm working in finance, but I've been writing poetry for a long time. I've been published in a few anthologies, uh, but I've only recently started reading out my poetry or sort of performing. So the first poem that I'll be reading today is called Aging. I'll give a bit of a background. It's about my grandmother uh, who basically came to India in 1947 during the partition from Pakistan. So this poem is about her. It's called Aging. I watch my grandmother frozen in her bed at night, unsure if she lives or has already died. At 89, I often find her sitting upright in the middle of the night, her clothes wet with anxious sweat, as she hops on a train in her mind, revisits the time she crossed a freshly painted border on a train, covered from head to toe, petrified her virginity may be lost to an unknown man driven by unknowable rage. Her crumpled face, the dark corner of a long forsaken house, lost in cobwebs of memories only she remembers. Of all the days full of light and all the days full of darkness her eyes have seen, as light rapidly recedes each day from her gentle eyes. I've seen those eyes twitchy with excitement at the sight of a perfectly round laddu. At 89, she sometimes resembles a 9-year-old who has seen an aeroplane for the first time. She talks of death as a long awaited guest, fussing over little details, like the mother of a newlywed daughter returning home for the first time. With a cold, priestly poise, she chooses which of her granddaughters will be blessed with her faded red wedding dress, that perfect picture with her angelic smile that will live on in her room long after she's gone. The pristine white sari that shall be her last, smoothing its creases with her creased hands. She has it all precisely planned. A neatly folded farewell note to the family, carefully tucked beneath her pillow. She goes to sleep each night with the Lord sitting upright on her quivering lips, praying for his long promised embrace. Each day here, a decade for her, each day with her, an hour of solace confined in her grace for me. So this next one is called Nocturnal Wanderings. I love passing through strange towns at night when they reveal their secret selves in the soft yellow glow of sleep-addled street lamps. I love passing through strange towns at night when the townspeople have all gone to sleep. I love passing through strange towns at night when the day's commotion has subsided, when the buildings and billboards and hoardings and everything they advertise, all they stand for, is only a shadow of reality, far, far less potent than a single nocturnal dog's soul piercing howl. Maybe because I think that's how it should be. I love watching people sleep, their faces shorn of all traces of artifice, appearing as they would to God right after He crafted them. Soumya, do I have time for one more?
Uh, yeah, if it's under 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think I can do it under 2 minutes. So this one is called Words Apart. Your words are many, mine too few. Your tirades a gushing lava, my rebukes a settled dew. Your sentences flow like swollen rivers at the peak of the monsoons. My alphabets appear after ages, hidden oases in a desert of scorched silences. Your exhortations too powerful to control, my musings too humble to utter. Your speeches build empires, make histories, my disjointed thoughts hide inside old books like fading myths. You scatter your words to conquer the world. I swallow mine to arrest its fall. You measure lives in the balance of your words. I measure my words as if lives hang in balance upon them. Your words are creation hymns to new worlds. Mine are silent prayers to a wordless old God. We are words apart, you and me. We are words apart, you and me. Words may be your currency, but I know their value. Thank you.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you for those deeply emotional poems. The one on your grandmother and the one just exploring a town in the nighttime, as well as the final one about words. We are very thankful to have had such wonderful readings today. I've taken out the time to also post my own Instagram, which is very simple. It's my name, but if you have troubles with my spelling, you can just note it down somewhere. It's Saumya.Choudhury. You can find me on Instagram there. Shrishti, the co-host for today, is at cacti.bloom. I've also made note of the other social media handles, but I think it's best to organize better. So I'll probably be, sharing an Excel sheet where if you would like, you can always, put down your social media contact and your website. But all in all, I think when we were ideating on the World Poetry Project, Shrishti and I, and when we were thinking about, whether it is something that's viable, though we do have, connections around the world, I think the only thing that was stopping us from doing this in any year before was, some kind of a traditional belief that poetry has to be physical and it cannot be done on Zoom, but I'm so glad that we got over that phase, because it wouldn't have been possible to meet all you wonderful poets if it weren't if it weren't online. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today. You can also find the organization on Delhi Poetry Slam. That's the Instagram handle. I will be sharing the recording of this particular event by next week. So I hope that I hope that you're able to share the reading further with your communities, and your communities enjoy the poems that you've performed and read out for us today. Thank you, everyone. With that, I think we're closing the day 2 of World Poetry Project.
Thank you.